Today is December 10th, and we've made it this far. We're on our way to Christmas, all right? And on our way to 2025, and on our way to the inauguration. I hope all roads lead to the inauguration, January 20th, 2025. Meet us in Washington, D.C. for an inauguration that's going to change the life of every TI, all right? We're there to raise our voices. We're there to celebrate, but we're there to spread the word and remind the new administration that we must be at the forefront of things. We do not want to be overlooked like we're overlooked with Havana syndrome. It's not just the diplomats. Like we're overlooked with these drones. All of a sudden people talking about drones, guys. How long have you been talking about drones and satellites and things over your head and planes and helicopters? How long have you been talking about that? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But we know we have a special guest tonight, none other than the infamous Jesse Beltran. He's back. All right, so we look forward to hearing from him later tonight. We have, of course, as usual, our news, and we have a special request, a petition from Dr. Black. So we have a lot. We have a, pun intended, jam-packed night, and we're going to get ready right now. So I'm not going to stay long at this point because I want you guys to go to work with both eyes open. I want to make sure that you're able to make it in and that we're able to end at a decent hour. So we're not going to tarry too much here. But I do want to mention one thing, and that is please meet us at the inauguration on January 20th in D.C. We're going to have a jam meetup. Ann Baker's having a rally. We're going to join her at the library, so I hope that you will join us there as well. We're going to have fun, fun, fun. We're going to change the way we experience life on this planet. So that is our story is being told all around the world and has been for a long time, and things are happening. So let's talk about some of those things right now as we settle down. So, again, welcome to GoGi's After Dinner Jam. I see these conference calls as different flavors of ice cream, and you chose to be here, and I'm so glad you did, and I choose you back. I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you for being here. And the question that I'm going to open up with today, well, let me just say I usually drop a gem. So the gem I want to drop is keep your head up. All right? There's a lot that is happening right now. We have to stay alert. We can't bury our heads in the sand. Things are happening every day. There's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, a lot of people trying to say, oh, it'll never happen. Oh, and, stay depressed, stay down. No, stay positive, stay alert, and stay focused. Continue to document. Continue to preserve your bodies, to continue to do the things that you know have been successful for you for survival. Continue in that vein, and let's make it in. Let's just make it in, okay? Sometimes, when you're tired and things are really bad and it's really hard, all you got to do is make it across that finish line. Okay, let's make it to glory, guys. Come on, let's make it together. Help one another, help each other. If you see someone that needs help, help them. It might be a word, it might be a piece of shielding, it might be a tip, whatever it is, share and preserve yourselves and pray for us all. Okay, so we're going to start. Our question tonight is when we open up, please announce yourself, city and state you're from. If you have noise in your background, mute it so that we don't have to boot you, okay? And the question is, have you noticed drones overhead? Have you noticed any time during your targeting experience, drones or any kind of aircraft overhead? That's all. And then just say hello. So let's go. Welcome to the jam, everybody. So glad you made it in. Somebody.
Robert Wheel was just doing today. I'm kind of fed up, and I'm part of that group America's office.
Okay, I hear a gentleman speaking. If you're not speaking to us, please mute yourself. We're gonna find you. We're gonna find you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the jam, everybody. Please announce yourself, city and state you're from, and have you ever seen any aircraft, anything in the air over your head during your targeting experience. Go ahead.
God bless you, Sister GoGi's.
Good. God bless you, Twinnie. I heard you. How you doing? Go ahead.
Good. I'm blessed and highly favored. Amen.
All right. Amen.
And I'm encouraged tonight. Amen. Because we got a big God that's still on the throne, that's still in control. Amen.
Amen.
And I myself, to answer the question, no, I myself have never seen a drone, but I have seen, I believe, a satellite. When at night, if I drive long distance, I do see like something, it'll be like the only star or whatever in the sky on a dark, cloudy night, only one.
Okay. All right.
But that's the only thing I see.
All right.
Amen.
Thank you for that.
You.
Amen. God bless you, Sister Samia. And Samia's calls, everybody, Wednesday night, Friday night, Sunday night. Look at TI Events for the information. She has calls 3 nights a week just for you. All right, that's for the TI community. Next caller, please. Thank you, Samia.
Constance from Arizona.
Hi,
GoGi's.
How are you, Connie Love?
I am alive. Okay.
All right. Now.
I didn't see a drone, but I remember I even remember what year it was. It was 2016. We were living in a townhouse, upstairs, downstairs, and I'm laying in the bed, and I heard something attached to the roof. And it had a loud motor. It could have been one. I'm not 100% sure, but it sat there practically the whole night.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that, Connie Love. Thank you, and we'll be in touch soon because the J.A.M. Voices guys will be available and around for Christmas.
Woohoo!
So we're going to start working on our Christmas carols, and we'll be coming around to spread some glee. I hope that you'll be ready to receive us. All right, next caller, please. I heard somebody that I'm missing. Go ahead.
Hi, GoGi. This is G in Virginia.
Hi, G. How are you? I just said
I'm okay.
All right.
I'm okay, GoGi. Yeah, I see the drones 24/7. Sometimes I see them. It's a bunch of them. I'm about 0.5 miles from a tower, so it's almost to the point where I can reach out and touch the tower.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, I do see the drones all the time.
Okay. Thank you for that, G. Good to hear you on the call. Good to hear you and have you on the call. All right. Next caller, please.
Tanya from Australia. I always have 2 drones over my house every night. I hope everybody's doing good. God bless you all.
God bless you, Tanya from Australia. Thank you for joining the call. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Go ahead. Next caller.
Hi, GoGi. This is Lynn from the Bluebonnet State.
Hi, Lynn. And gentlemen, with the bass in your voice, I'll catch you next. Lynn, go ahead. The Bluebonnet State, you said?
Texas.
All right.
So not only have I seen drones, I have pictures as proof and evidence, and I get them every single day around the same time of day, but I do have photos as my evidence.
Beautiful. Thank you. Photos, guys. You hear that? Photos, videos, time, date, direction, if they're moving, if they're just sitting still, and fine. But yes, important to document. Pictures. All right, sir, with the bass in your voice, please go ahead.
Hey, GoGi. This is Daniel from Alabama.
Hey. Hi, Daniel.
No drones, but lots of helicopters. We're next to a base, an Army base, so then they do spray chemtrails sometimes. So that's about everything here.
I see. You said chemtrails, and
yeah.
I missed.
Yeah, they have this big long pole from behind it. Spray.
Yes, and thank God some states are trying to ban those chemtrails. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you, Sir Dan, for joining the J.A.M, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, GoGi.
All right. Next caller, please.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jessica from Minnesota. I've seen the drones a couple times and then many times when I was in Minneapolis, but I can always hear them over ahead, and I've been attacked really bad. So, and I believe that's what they use to think or project.
I see. All kinds of things. Those drones can do a lot of different things, but there's a big deal being made of them, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you, Jessica from Minnesota. Thank you, and welcome to the J.A.M.
Love you, Josie. I saw you in the conference in Colorado Springs.
It was incredibly
specific. Wait 1 second. Somebody else is talking, but this person is talking. Go ahead, man. Love you back, ma'am. Go ahead. You said you saw me in the conference the other night?
Oh, that was me. I saw you at the conference in Colorado Springs. I'm sorry. I'll let someone else speak, but I just yes, your song and everything just moved me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. What's your name?
Jessica.
Jessica, thank you so much. Thank you for your comment. And you know what? The song we said is You Better Think, Aretha Franklin. I wanted to really go with that song and have the music, and I didn't let them know, so we just left it like that. But thank you. I'm glad that moved.
Oh, my God, it was beautiful. It was perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, now. All right, next caller, please.
This is Anonymous
Hi, Gogi.
from Minnesota.
Two people. Sonata from...
Hi. The first time I noticed drones at all, I was looking up at the stars, smoking out in the late night, and when I went back out a few minutes later, they had moved to the other side of the top of the tree. I thought, stars don't do that. They look like stars, and then during the time when I had very heavy license plate harassment, and after I saw those two stars and they moved, the license plate that drove in front of me said, God's eyes.
Wow. I wonder if they meant for that to happen. I don't think so, but what a nice message. I mean, but very interesting.
No, it was a mean message.
It was a mean message?
I mean, God's eyes.
Well, I don't know. I would love God to look at me, but I guess it was, I don't know how to take that. But anyway, we know that the drone should not be up there over you, watching you, doing the things that the drones do. So, yeah, I don't like the correlation, but I wish God's eyes are, to know God's eyes are on me, I take that in a positive way. But thank you for your call. Thank you for your comment. All right, next caller, please. I heard another person that was right behind her.
Hi, Gogi. This is Major P.
Hi, Major P. Welcome to the J.A.M.
Thank you so much. The drones were my initiation into this program. They would come by my house at midnight and spray all my windows. It took me a moment to catch on. Now I have drones that patrol my whole community. They live above my house. When I move, they move. So I know all about drones.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that, Major P. Yeah. All right. We'll take a few more. If anybody else?
Hi, Gaji.
Hi. How are you?
Good. This is Mary from Connecticut. I've had as many as 3 drones, satellites. I've had planes that flew so low I thought they would crash into the top of my house. Yeah.
My God. You said you said to the top of your house.
Yeah. And they do it at night where you can't, like see the number of the plane or anything,
Yeah, because that flight radar will pick that up. And there's some good cameras that will really pick up if you could get the bottom of the aircraft. That would be great, guys. Great.
I know it.
All right. One or two more. Anybody else?
Yeah, my name's Mark Dawson. I've had satellites and drones over my house all the time. I have one or two that sits above my house every night.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have had, but not anymore.
No, they're still there. There's one out there right now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Mark. I get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi,
Thank you for joining
this is Michelle. This is Michelle from California. I live in Silicon Valley, and I don't have any drones. I don't think I've really ever seen any. Maybe once or twice, but I don't generally get them. But we do have small planes that fly all night long throughout all the communities.
Wow. Okay. Planes
Yeah,
fly all night long.
8 and all in the morning.
Mhm. All right. Thank you for that,
You know,
Michelle. Thank you for joining the jam. All right, sir. Go ahead.
It's funny that talking about drones and satellites, because just a while ago on WDRB News they had brought the local police in investigation because there's been several drones flying all over the city and all over the towns and invading the areas, and they don't know where it's from. Like
that's right.
The local police is getting in on
what
it.
State? What state, sir?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. Wow. Because I'm here in New Jersey. I'm here in a few different states. So now I hear Louisville, Kentucky. So nothing new for targeted individuals, but we're going to talk a little bit about it and what to do about it a little later in the call. All right. So
hello, Roger.
Hi, how are you, Roger? Big guy?
Yeah, Roger from Connecticut. Listen, I was just in, they always fly around here, and you think they're a star. They ain't no star. They're weaponized. But I was in St. Martin for the week, and they had one right outside the resort, and it would flicker its light, and people were talking about it down there because they don't have many there. And it was outside the resort the whole time I was there.
Unbelievable. So you can't get away from it. In the Caribbean, St. Martin, still a drone following you. I mean, the amount of money they spend on us guys, okay?
You know what?
We are very special people. All right, go ahead, sir.
Hello. I don't care how many drones they send or what they do. God is still on the throne, and we should be kingdom focused. That's where we're going to be. We can't forget that this fight is against good and evil.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is good versus evil. And with that, we're going to... Hi, how are you, ma'am?
Hi.
Thank you, Tori.
This is Kathy. I'm calling from Georgia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I have helicopters and planes flying above me just about every day. Even if I'm at work, it's like they show up where I work. So, yeah, I'm in Georgia.
Thank you, Georgia. I get it. I love it. Yeah, I forgot about the helicopters. Helicopters, too. Okay, yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, this is Dana from Detroit, Michigan, and I have drones every night. Also, during the day, I have helicopters and planes.
Sheesh. Okay, Dana. Thank you for joining the jam. Helicopters, planes, and drones. All right, guys. We're gonna pull it down now. All right. Welcome to the jam, everybody. It's really kind of sad that amount of money is spent. How much does it cost to put a drone up in the sky? And even those low orbit satellites, all this, airplanes, helicopters. Who's spending this money? That's why when vindication comes for us, we don't want any expense spared, because you didn't spare any expense following us around illegally with drones, airplanes, helicopters, small planes flying through the night. Are you kidding me? Drones that stay up there all night long. How much does it cost? Who's paying for it? So, yes, you can pay for all of the stuff that you've done to us, the damage, invading our privacy, the rights that you stomped on like we don't exist, like we don't deserve to have privacy or the pursuit of happiness. So we have a lot to do. All right. So anyway, let's get into the news. Let's get into what's going on around this world that's telling our story. Where do we begin? All right. 1 second, guys. I wanted to begin with this article I saw on Substack with, I think it's Dr. Anna Mahalcha mentioned it, but this one is coming from Dr. Joseph Sansone. And they're mentioning about the Nobel Peace Prize nominee, and it provides an affidavit. It says that he's a nominee, but I don't know if he was if he did win it, but he says all COVID-19 vaccine mRNA gene therapies are bioweapons, which means they are poisonous. And there's something, the significant part about this, if you go to, his name is Dr. Ben Marble, MD. He's a creator of myfreedoctor.com, and he provided an affidavit stating that all COVID-19 vaccine mRNA gene therapies are bioweapons, which means they are poisonous. He's the inventor of the hands-free toothbrush and, oh my God, asynchronous telemedicine, and founder of myfreedoctor.com. And he's the first MD to treat patients for free in all 50 states and has successfully treated 25,000 COVID-19 patients. So he's the 8th expert to file such an affidavit in a legal case that's seeking an injunction to prohibit the COVID-19 and mRNA injections. He's from Florida, and I just think it's something that we should follow. There was something that was really significant in this for me, but it's that's just a mention, something I wanted to mention. Okay, and I also wanted to mention this. This is a statement by Mark Zaid, since we like to talk about health first. And this statement is, we look forward to working with the Trump administration on AHI issues and protecting our people. But I hope at POTUS takes appropriate steps during his last 2 months, so he's talking about Biden, in office to do the right thing. He said there's a lot happening behind the scenes on the AHI issue from several branches of government. For the first time in years, I'm cautiously optimistic that transparency is coming in the 3 big bins. Okay, so transparency is coming in AHI which is Havana syndrome. So I'm just hoping by this comment, if for Mark Zaid, the lawyer for the diplomats, to say that, I'm hoping that includes the everyday people, because everyday people have Havana syndrome. I'm one of the 20 that I know about that are diagnosed, but there are others. If you'd like to join in some of the things that we're doing, please email me at the Justice Action Meeting at proton.me, the Justice Action Meeting at proton.me. And Dr. Bear on Substack, he's also working on a civilian review or civilian registry. So you can follow him on Substack and find out about it. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Let's go to our first video clip, and that is Chip Roy. I love to hear Chip Roy talk because he's always spewing out truth. So let's listen to what Chip Roy says about targeting. Okay. What Chip Roy says about targeting.
I note that this piece of legislation, as I understand it, right, the purpose is to authorize dedicated domestic terrorism offices within the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to analyze and monitor domestic terrorist activity and require the federal government to take steps to prevent domestic terrorism. Now, that may seem innocuous to some. I don't find it to be particularly innocuous when you're talking about the power of the federal government and talking about the offices to monitor domestic terrorist activity. That already raises red flags for me, no matter what the purpose is, no matter who is being targeted. And so when I go back, and I've mentioned this before, and I won't belabor it, but it does merit repetition, that at the center of this whole controversy, going back to the National School Board Association's memo, was that Scott Smith of Loudoun County, who was 48 years old, about my age, 49. He's the father of a girl who was sexually assaulted. This story that I'm pulling back up to remind myself says allegedly, but we now know has been confirmed conviction, sexually assaulted in a Virginia school bathroom in Loudoun County, which is where I went to high school, in Loudoun Valley High School. And that Scott was at this school board event subsequently to his daughter being assaulted. And his wife is yelling, quote, "My child was raped at school and this is what happens." And there's a picture that was fairly famously spread around the internet of Mr. Smith being wrestled to the ground. Now, Mr. Smith is at a school board meeting because his daughter was raped. And he's asking the school board, and frankly, he was being a little more polite than Congressman Roy would have been, I assure you. If my daughter was raped and I was in front of the school board, he was asking to be heard. And then his name ends up at the center of an effort by the National School Board Association to have the FBI investigating domestic terrorist activity. So this isn't, as some might say, oh, well, you guys are just stalling, you're trying to delay or offer amendments for show or have some political show vote. This is an amendment, or a piece of legislation that would expand the power of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to analyze and monitor domestic terrorist activity. And we know then through whistleblowers, and we've got the documentation from the whistleblowers that we've got this edu official tag. And now all we simply want to do in this amendment, since the majority refused to accept Mr. Biggs' amendment, say, wait, let's not target parents. All we're trying to do right now is say, can we at least know who's being targeted? And to track the use of the edu official tag. Now, so I want everybody in America to understand the United States House of Representatives Judiciary Committee wants to empower the FBI, Homeland Security, to empower going after Americans to monitor their activity in America. Monitor Americans. And we know that they've been doing so, targeting parents. And again, the kind of parent we're talking about is Mr. Smith, whom I've come to know, and that was the epicenter of starting this whole thing of, quote, threats to school boards. That a father wanted to dare question a school board about what happened to his daughter in a bathroom in the school he pays taxes to, and just wants to know that his daughter is safe. And do my colleagues on the other side of the aisle think that's okay? My colleagues on the other side of the aisle think, oh, let's just sweep that aside? And that we shouldn't be concerned about the power of the government tracking citizens, tracking Americans based on the fact that they show up to a school board to demand security for their daughter? That's where we are.
Very important issue here. For those of you who don't know the structure of the school board, if you have children and you're in a community where they do this voting, you understand, especially in the outskirts. Sometimes in the city it's centralized, but on the outskirts of the city, the community school boards, they're voted on by and elected by community members. And if your children have a problem, this is a grave problem. His daughter was raped at school, all right? And so if he feels that, or the parents feel that the school did not act appropriately, they go to the school board. So they go to the school board meeting to talk. And I'm sure with such an issue, it might not have been a nice talk. Maybe he was angry. They give the community a chance to express themselves. But to have the FBI get involved, or for parents to be targeted, become TIs, to be on the list in handing codes 3 and 4, like we are, non-investigative subjects, because of their comments or behavior when we have free speech, they're coming to express themselves at a school board meeting, is just outrageous. And I want to just tell you what I know, in that some administrators and teachers and so forth, there is a vehicle or an impetus that involves schools as well as universities and hospitals, where the people that know are able to also nominate people on these lists, or to elevate their targeting, or to engage in this illegal activity. And so this thing that we have, that we're a part of, not because of anything we did, and not that because of anything we did wrong, because this should not exist, is available to all walks of life. And so this is Chip Roy expressing his outrage and trying to get his colleagues and other elected officials as outraged as he is, so that they will do something about the ability to just nominate and bother or nominate regular everyday people, like a parent who expresses himself or herself at a school board meeting. So that's one of the things I remember Jim Jordan mentioned during the House Judiciary Subcommittee Select. He mentioned that, what's going on at the school board meetings, that they brought long guns to the school board meetings, that they target parents at school board meetings. And I'm sure he was talking about Mr. Smith. So, and there may be others. So I wanted us to bring that to our attention. And there is this woman. You have to listen carefully, because this is a really quick clip, but she also refers to the fact that how easy it is to be put on the list. Okay, so listen carefully to what she says, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moskowitz. And I would now, committee staff asked me to go ahead, and I will do it, to enter into the congressional record this 12-page document that Michael Schellenberger brought today that describes the Immaculate Constellation government program. So we will do that now. Every member up here has a copy of it. The first section talks about the Knowledge Special Access Program called Immaculate Constellation, and the second section about USG imagery intelligence. And Representative Luna just told me if I say Immaculate Constellation, I'll be on some list, maybe a FISA warrant. So come at me, bro, I guess. But
okay, I'm not sure if you heard that. I got a different thing on my phone, but she said, I heard if I say a particular term, I'm going to be put on some list. And then she says, come at me, bro. Okay, so she is aware of a threat that if she says, or she uses a certain term, she could be put on a list. And it's really just, widespread, this phenomenon. So this being watch listed. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to move a little quickly so that we can end at a decent hour once again. And I'm going to skip. I'm going to move to, here are we? I'm Sorry. All right. I'm going to move to, there's something about the FBI is talking about the use of the smartphone. Okay, let's look at that real quickly. The smartphone, and it deals with, of all people, right? Okay, of all agencies, but they're saying that the FBI is talking about the smartphone. So let me get the name of it. It says that the FBI says to hang up and create a secret word. So the FBI is talking about the fact, saying that it's warning us about AI attacks against smartphone users. Okay, and it says the FBI warns smartphone users to hang up and create a secret word. So they're warning us about the cyber attacks and how they're increasing, and recent reports have revealed. So from tech support scams targeting Gmail users to fraudulent gambling apps and sophisticated biometric protection busting bank frauds, to name but a few. So the FBI has issued a public service announcement warning of how generative AI is being used to facilitate such fraud and advising smartphone users to hang up and create a secret word to help mitigate these cyber attacks. Here's what the FBI says that you must do. So let me jump to some of the tips. It says, this is the things that they do. They will use the use of generative AI to create images of celebrities or social media personas promoting fraudulent activities. AI-generated short audio clips containing the voice of a loved one or close relative in a crisis situation to ask for financial help. AI-generated real-time video chats with alleged company executives, law enforcement, or other authority figures. AI-created videos to prove the online contact is a real person. So AI now is being used to deceive people and create fraud. So this is what the FBI is recommending we do to mitigate the risk of these smartphone-based AI cyber attacks. 1, hang up the phone to verify the identity of the person that's calling you by researching the contact details online and calling the number that you found directly. 2, create a secret word or phrase that is known to your family and contacts so that this can be used for identification purposes in the case of a true emergency call. 3, never share sensitive information with people you have met, only online or over the phone. Okay, so it seems pretty simple, but I just find it interesting that the FBI is now sharing this information with us. That is December 7th. Okay, and all right. I just want to share that, and we're going to continue moving. All right, the next video, let's go to this. There's a T-Mobile lawsuit I want to jump to, but I'm going to jump to Ronan Farrow first, and he made some comments about hacking as well. So we're going to jump to that, and then I'm going to come back to the T-Mobile video. All right, T-Mobile article. Go ahead. Ronan Farrow.
Okay.
Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Ronan Farrow. His new documentary, Surveilled, is a wake-up call to everyone with a cell phone. Yeah. Now, you want to know what's going on? So do we. Ronan, what's happening?
Well, so look, I know this might seem to all of you like a bit of an esoteric issue. Maybe it doesn't seem like it affects you, but we've seen in recent years that phone hacking technology, I'm talking about powerful software that anyone who's using it can use to get on your phone without you noticing, activate the camera, activate the audio recording, steal all your photos, steal all your texts. That is technology that is proliferating around the world, and we're seeing it play out not just under regimes you think typically are repressive. Like, there have been cases in Saudi Arabia where the journalist Jamal Khashoggi was murdered, and on the phones of people around him, there was this technology, an example of it from an Israeli company, a technology called Pegasus. I talk about this in the film. But what's happening more consequentially for all of us, more immediately for all of us, is in one Western democracy after another, governments are buying this kind of tech, and they're using it against their people. We've seen it in Spain. In this film, I go to Spain, and I find this large group of just peaceful politicians, civil society members who have all been hacked, innocent people, bystanders, no politics. Their phones have been hacked. You don't know how that data is going to be used. Private medical data is out there. And over again, we see that's associated with violence. In that case, there's violent crackdowns, arrests.
Sometimes it feels like they're listening. It's like I'll say something, all of a sudden it pops up.
I heard that you've had some experience.
Well, I'm an idiot on this thing. Anyway, but besides that, it's like, are they listening to my conversations?
Well, look, I'll tell you, I have been targeted by various surveillance mechanisms, either old school, that's, gumshoes following you around. I've had that. And I've also had my phone geolocation data hijacked, and I've been followed as a result. And it's really violating. And so one thing to know is, even if you think you're not in a vulnerable category, the U.S. government is purchasing this technology. I have a story that's coming out today about how the Immigration Enforcement Agency now has a powerful Israeli private spyware. We don't know how the Trump administration will use this. There's no limitations that we really know of. They don't have to limit how they're hacking Americans. So you could wind up on a list. Every privacy expert, every lawyer I talk to is like, you might not know. You might be targeted. And you don't know what's going to happen to that data. The second thing is, we've all got to care about the shrinking space for resistance, protest, democracy, whatever side of the aisle you're on. My experience of this is, if reporters are getting surveilled, if our sources might be outed, and we have Donald Trump coming in and saying specifically, journalists who protect their sources should go to jail. So if you couple that with this powerful form of technology, you have a recipe for disaster that we've seen spiral in all these other countries, in Poland, in Greece, these places where you thought it couldn't happen, it's happening. So we might have a scenario here where activists, dissidents, journalists can't uncover new information, can't work with sources, can't have private conversations about dissent. That's scary stuff.
It is scary, and I sort of feel my site is fantastic. I hope everybody watches this, because we need to know what's going on. And actually, I think we have a clip. Let's take a look at it.
These cases affect 450 million people. It's a violation of their rights. What we ended up finding was actually the tip of the iceberg.
Spyware is this powerful surveillance tool. Big spyware companies say they sell this tech only to governments, but this multi-billion-dollar industry is mostly unregulated. The most advanced spyware can turn your smartphone into a spy in your pocket. It can copy everything and request you without you ever knowing. Is that just?
Okay, what I find interesting here, and I understand we are concerned about hacking, is that they don't talk. He talks about the government purchasing all of this spyware and how they can use it. He's talking about when Trump gets in place. How about what they're doing right now? How about the spyware that they already have and they're already using on us? So it's not a next administration issue. It's a current issue. But the issue is being dealt with, so we like that. So it's important for us to note that and keep our eyes on it and keep aware of that. So I also want to talk about T-Mobile. So there's a class action that was filed by 23 plaintiffs. T-Mobile is under fire as it faces a new class action lawsuit filed by 23 plaintiffs. And the lawsuit filed earlier this week accuses the telecommunications giant of misleading its customers with unclear billing practices. At the center of the controversy is the company's regulatory programs and telco recovery fee, which consumers claim is deceptively presented as a government-mandated charge. Okay, so this isn't the first time T-Mobile has faced legal scrutiny. Previous disputes over data practices have also drawn criticism and a $60 million penalty. However, with the tech company facing this class action lawsuit, the stakes are higher. A favorable ruling for the plaintiffs could force the company to regulate its pricing structure. So just something else for everybody to watch. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay. All right. And I also want to, there's a few things I want to mention, but we're going to jump to the last few videos before we get ready for our guests. I know everybody's excited. I sure am. And let's jump to a video clip with DNA. All right, with the DNA, please.
You and everyone you know has a piece of DNA in your genome. Sit there without your knowing. No one has the right or the ability to tamper with your DNA. The RNA and protein cutting genes at exact locations. Vaccination gets used as a weapon. The ultimate weapon. The ability to depopulate the planet. To kill everyone but the chosen by tampering with their DNA. Why do such a thing and lie about it? Oh, government.
Your own government lies as a matter of course, as a matter of policy. The Tuskegee experiments on black men in the 30s, Henrietta Lacks.
What are they trying to do?
That's the missing piece.
But it's not hard to imagine a government hiding, hoarding technology for 70 years at the expense of human life and the future of the planet. Driven not only by corporate greed, but a darker objective.
The takeover of America.
And then the world itself, by any means necessary, however violent, by severe drought, brought on by weather wars, conducted secretly using aerial contaminants and high-altitude electromagnetic waves. In a state of perpetual war, to create problem, reaction, solution scenarios to distract, enrage, and enslave American citizens at home. Well, tools like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, which abridge the Constitution in the name of national security. The militarization of police forces in cities across the U.S., building of prison camps by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with no stated purpose. The corporate takeover of food and agriculture, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, even the military in clandestine agendas to fatten, dull, sicken, and control a populace already consumed by consumerism.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
A government that taps your phone, collects your data, and monitors your whereabouts with impunity. A government prepared to use that data against you when it strikes. And the final takeover begins.
Takeover of America.
By a well-oiled and well-armed multinational group of elites that will cold, kill, and subjugate.
Happening as we sit here.
It's happening all around us.
The other shoe waiting to drop.
It'll probably start on a Friday. The banks will announce a security action necessitating their computers to go offline all weekend.
Digital money will disappear.
They can just steal your money?
Followed by the detonation of strategic electromagnetic pulse bombs to knock out major grids.
What will seem like an attack on America by terrorists or Russia.
The invasion of the U.S.
The Russians tried it in 1947.
All right. Okay. So the DNA, there's a line of a constant line going through with DNA that they are trying to change our DNA and impact our DNA, and what can happen if they do. So we're constantly following that trail. All right. I want to turn our attention to. I think we're going to get ready for our guest. There are one or two other videos. Well, before we do, I'm just going to do the video on the drones, and then we're going to get ready for our guest speaker for tonight. All right. So can we put that up, Lady T?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's what you're doing.
Come on, guys.
Well, yeah, by the way, I'm one of those guys. My kids recorded. They were freaking out. They are big, and they fly kind of low. And it's really disconcerting that our governor can't tell us what's going on.
They don't want to tell you.
You know, and then they said, call the sheriff, and then the sheriff says, call the FBI, and then the FBI is saying, give us more information. And remember, Bill, we had a balloon that flew, a Chinese balloon that flew over our country, and not only did our government lie about it, but they did nothing about it. So do you think that these are foreign, that this is a foreign country? It's Google, for drone package testing something? What is it?
I have my opinion already. I think if it was something as simple as Google or Amazon, something like that, it would have been very easy to put out a statement saying, hey guys, don't mind the drones, we're not under attack. What really bothered many people, certainly in my audience, is when we called out the governor earlier this week, he did not make a statement until after thousands of our listeners flooded the State House with calls saying, Governor, what is going on? What did you know? When did you know it? Why are you not saying anything? It's strange to me, though, if you think about the size of these drones. It's not like they can stay airborne forever. They've got to land somewhere. Chances are they're landing somewhere locally. Why is it only happening at night? Why is it happening on and around our military bases, both the Joint Base in Monmouth, the Arsenal in North Jersey? So there are a lot of questions, and it leads many of us to believe that they do know. But I think the simplest explanation is that this is some kind of a military test. I just wish they would come out and say, here's what we're doing. And I have said, when I'm elected governor, we're not going to have this secrecy coming from the State House. We're going to have total transparency because it's clear someone knows what's happening. That's what they're doing.
It's clear someone knows what's happening. So it's funny how at a time right before the new administration who speaks to exposing these things, the items are coming up, the issues are coming up, they're being addressed in a different way, not really transparently with transparency. But they're being dealt with in some way, but they're going to really be dealt with later. So I don't know what this is about, but we know that several states now are complaining about sightings of drones, and also the FBI is saying if you see a drone, call us. Now, how many times have you called? I've called about a drone, and the police won't take a report. You know, no one wants to take a report. Now they want us to call the FBI about if you sight a drone overhead. So, I mean, that's up to you if you decide that you want to do it. I think, to me, it would be on January 21st to then start calling in. But there are people, calling in about the drones and making complaints about the drones. So now at least we can put a FOIA and find out how many drones in our area or how many drones have been called in or how many times people called in and use the word drone to the police department or, whatever. But I think it would be something good, some information that'll be good for us. And, again, our documentation is key. So there's an invitation or a request from the FBI to call in and to report drones. I'm not sure how I personally feel about it right now, but I just wanted to share that information. We're going to take a commercial break and come right back. Tranquility.
Chris, I've been hosting events for targeted individuals, but no one ever comes.
You need TIevents.org. It's where TIs find all the events, conference calls, meetups, webinars.
How do I get listed?
Just go to TIevents.org. It's easy. TIevents.org, where the TI community connects. List your event today.
List your events with TI Events. Okay, if you have something coming up for the TI community, certainly a wonderful place to list your event. All right, thank you, Tranquility. Dr. Black, is Dr. Millicent Black there? We have a petition that she would like to share, and it's wonderful when you can get, take your circumstance and turn it around into something positive. So we know, Dr. Black, are you with us?
I'm not seeing her.
I'm sorry, you're not seeing her? Okay. All right. Okay, her petition is called, and I'm going to ask you to look for it on TI events or even on my website, GoGi's.com, and it's called Stop False Diagnosis and Illegal Human Experimentation of U.S. citizens. Stop False Diagnosis and Illegal Human Experimentation of U.S. citizens. And as we know, Dr. Millicent Black was detained for a psychiatric hold, and afterwards, this is her petition. She's asking us all to sign. It'll be up on, I know TI Events, Tranquility, you have a section that has petitions. Is it posted already?
Yeah, you'd have that up.
Okay, good. So it's posted already on TI Events, and we'll post it on GoGi's J.A.M. So GoGi's J.A.M.com. Check it out. All right. Thank you so much. All right. And we're going to now introduce our speaker. And so get ready, guys. It's the moment we've been waiting for. All right. So let's introduce who's here tonight. Who is it? Okay, so I'm going to ask J.A.M. to introduce Jesse Beltran.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, GoGi.
Hi, can you guys?
Can you hear her, Tranquility?
Hey, Tranquility, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. This is a special call. We have Jesse Beltran with us. I'm so excited to have him. I can't do justice just with my own introduction. I will read his bio. It is not only impressive, but Lord have mercy. This man, he is a pioneer. He is helping us, targeted individuals, as a collective, and I'm just so grateful to have him here today with us. Just so we all are on the same page, again, his background is so impressive. I will read to you his background. He is a retired firefighter, paramedic, a former member of the Mathematics, Engineering, and Science Association at UC Davis, has a certification in blood and airborne pathogens from Sacramento State University. Jesse's helped establish a paramedic emergency transportation program from the Sacramento Fire Department. With over a decade of experience, he is known for his transformative approach to hypnosis, specializing in stress reduction, phobia management, PTSD, and performance enhancement. A certified master hypnotist with a diploma in hypnotherapy from the nationally accredited Hypnosis Motivational Institute in Tarzana, California. Jesse is a prominent speaker currently writing a book entitled Beyond Influence, discussing the impact of suggestibility in technocratic society and its everyday effects on adults and children. His sessions provide educational and transformative insights into hypnosis for improving mental and emotional well-being. So everyone, please join us as Jesse Beltran is here with us. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you and welcome to the Jam. Hi.
Well, thank you for having the platform. I'm honored to be here. And
we're honored to have you.
Yeah. So what would we like to talk about tonight?
We have a list, Jesse Beltran. So I first wanted to ask you a little bit about the things you did with the group that you formed in 2009, because I know that this is not your first time in the TI community, and you were gone for quite a while, and you're back. I had heard about a lot of work that you did before, but maybe some people haven't. So if you could just tell us a little bit about what you did back then, I think that would be of interest. Mm-hmm.
Sure. So back in 2009, when after meeting Dr. John Hall in Austin, Texas at a conference, he was expressing to me how people were coming to him with these strange and unusual symptoms or phenomena, mainly specifically talking about hearing an unusual sound within their head. Like a frequency transmission. And followed by short-term, long-term memory loss, brain fog, unusual twitches to the extremities, which were really described as reverberations through the entire anatomy. And when I spoke to him about this, and I asked him, well, what is being done? He said he was doing sporadic RF testing, so radio frequency testing with a frequency detector, and that he was finding positive anomalous frequencies around the human person. And so I conveyed to him, I said, well, that should be enough to at least merit doing a workup in traditional medicine. And when he expressed to me what was happening, he said that that is not the case, that people were being misdiagnosed and railroaded into the mental health industry. And so because I had met people who were suffering from this phenomena, including myself, I said, well, there's got to be some way to create a tangible way to measure this data, to take it from subjectivity to objectivity. And for those who may not be familiar with the terms, subjectivity is basically when you ask someone, what are you experiencing? And you say, well, I'm feeling dizzy, or I'm hearing a ringing in my ears. These are not something that can be visually seen. So basically it's what a person says to you, and in medical terms, and by no means I'm not a doctor, and I just want to be very clear about that, is basically it's what we can't see. It's what the client or patient is telling you they're experiencing, but you can't really prove it. And objectivity is a way to turn that subjectivity and turn it into something tangible. So what do we have? We have tools. In medicine, I think they have a cardiac monitor, so you can see what your heart rate rhythm is. And you have a pulse oximeter, so you can see what your blood oxygenation level is. You have EEG devices. We have MRIs. We have X-rays. These are all ways of obtaining tangible, objective data. So it's a little bit more difficult when you have just one individual talking about subjective experiences. But when you get hundreds of individuals speaking about the same objective experiences, you then can turn that into objective data. And what we decided to do is, with the help of two other gentlemen, we created the International Center Against the Abuse of Covert Technologies, and it was specifically created only to obtain this data and to do this study. And what I decided to do is to call a conference in Sacramento, California, just to see how many people were having these symptoms. And I truly, truly, sincerely only expected a few people. But and I'm sure some of you have heard my previous interviews, but 100 people showed up to that meeting in Sacramento, and virtually everyone had the same symptom complaints. And I knew that we were onto something, so it was at that point that I decided, well, we're definitely going to do this RF testing, and we're going to do it on a huge scale. And so in Davis, California, through a satellite location through the university. We called a meeting to do radio frequency testing in the field, so preliminary RF scans. And to my surprise, 300 people showed up. And when we did that, we started to see a picture develop. Initially on the Pacific Coast, it was the primary victims were Caucasian females in their 40s, recently single, widowed, or divorced, highly educated. And then it was Caucasian males, African American females, African American males, Asians, and then it dwindled down in ethnicity from there. That stayed consistent all the way up through the Midwest until we got to Chicago, in which African American females were the number one complainant, or the persons experiencing this phenomenon. And then it fell in the same categories, Caucasians, Asians, and it dwindled down. That remained consistent to the East Coast with the exception of Virginia. And in Virginia, I was invited to do the RF scanning with a group of military subcontractors who were all experiencing these exact same symptoms or phenomena. I was invited to Europe by a government agency to test their diplomats, family members for this, and I was allowed to bring victims who I strongly believed were truly suffering from this phenomenon. And we were allowed to use an anechoic chamber there. And basically an anechoic chamber, for those of you who may not know, is an environment that blocks out huge frequency spectrums. And then this one was rated to block out frequency spectrums between 8 kilohertz and 19 gigahertz. And this was a perfect environment if it truly could do that, because the frequencies that we were detecting were well within that spectrum. And when we arrived in Europe, and we used controls, so people who weren't suffering from this, and we tested them in the environment and with our equipment, and we got 0 frequency emissions, and with the frequency counters, we got 0 frequency detections. And that was important because it proved that we were in the right environment to bring those who we were detecting signals in the field to see if indeed what we believed was happening. And what we believed is that there was some sort of frequency emission from the human person. And when we put both the controls and the symptomatic individuals in the anechoic chamber, the controls consistently came up with 0 frequency detections, but those who were symptomatic we did find frequency emissions. So it was at that point that we said, now we can prove wholeheartedly that for whatever reason, that the human body in these individuals who were having these symptoms were emitting a signal, which ultimately led to surgical extractions of biosensors and implants. So that is why we set out to create the International Center Against Abuse of Covert Technologies, or ICE Act for short. And this is where we are today. Now, I went rogue. I reclused for a while, and the reason I did that is because our organization was becoming very effective in disseminating information, not only within the community, but we were penetrating the general population. So much so that we were able to get a resolution passed symbolically in Richmond, California, in which the mayor and council members passed a resolution called the Space Preservation Act. And we did this very methodically. We made sure that we had all our ducks in a row. We had doctors, we had psychologists. We had Dr. Spencer there, who was a neurologist from the Yale School of Medicine and had over 30 years experience at the University of San Francisco Hospital. We had Ben Carlson, who was a psychologist who did a dissertation about this. You had myself, and you had others who presented there, and we had the buy-in of almost everyone on the board initially. There was a little hiccup at the end where I'm sure it's not unheard of, where you get someone who tries to mess things up for us when we're making headway, but ultimately in the end, the resolution passed. So we knew that we had a model that would work. But what was happening for those of us who were being very effective is those of us who had children, our children started being attacked with threat to control us. And I had gotten full custody of my son, and CPS started showing up. And so I said, well, I'm not going to allow my son to be taken away from me. He's already come from an environment that probably wasn't ideal for a young man, and I wanted to make sure that I provided him with the best opportunity in life possible. So I decided to continue to work behind closed doors in secret until he was 18 years old. And he turned 18 this year, and that's why you saw my face resurface. Because of the experience that I gained and the connections that I created over the years, we now have a format that we know works very well in educating the general population. The issue that we've had over the years is that typically it's been, this phenomenon has only stayed within an umbrella called the TI community. And there were a lot of terms and language that are being used that when you try to express these things to the general population, you were immediately either blacklisted, considered 5150, which means you have probably a mental health issue going on, and it wasn't very effective. So we, at least, came up with a way in the utilization of language, and because I had a medical background, I knew how to communicate with those in the medical community and the scientific community. So we came up with a process and decided to create cosmic clarity connections with our brand called MindNexusLive.com. And the whole purpose of that was to create seminars and retreats so that we can bring in these people in the general population. And just serendipitously, what we discovered, the people who were attending these were just came from a vast background, but a lot of these people were intellectuals, people with top security clearances as civilians, the highest security clearances as civilians that you can obtain. Some were doctors, publishers, just mom and dads just doing their thing, but they were very influential. And so this was something that we did not expect in the out the gate, but it did happen, and it has created so many opportunities for us in the form of networking that we now know our method has been tried and tested, and we have a really good success rate in engaging the general population. There is recently, and we've been doing this in various ways, not only in these seminars and retreats, but there has been a great interest in sharing the information in our process in the general population because we have tangible evidence. And this is the thing that I was that I believe was lacking 15 years ago, is everyone was leaning on the subjectivity, and the subjectivity wasn't working. In fact, it was closing doors faster than they can be opened. And so this is why we created this process.
Okay, I love it. I love it. I love the move from subjectivity to objectivity. because that's where we're taken seriously. Not only with the numbers, because the numbers, how can people all over the world say the same thing and express one experience in the same manner, and you can see the similarity, but also with tangible evidence that you're able to produce. So, and I'm aware of the RF testing or the scans. I call them scans. We loosely call it scans. And you're still performing that service, that service for targeted individuals or people that exemplify these symptoms?
That is correct. We are engaging in the RF testing now, and the great thing is we have many years experience under our belt that we've refined it to where the scans done out in the field are consistent to the findings that we're finding in the anechoic chambers, and that's important because you get a lot of people that think that they can go buy the equipment and use it and use it the way they believe they're using it, and no harm in that. You can't blame anyone who's going through this and being tortured, but there are some pitfalls that you have to avoid. We live in a wireless society, so you have to make sure that the process that you do is meant and developed to minimize any aberrant signals. It's not to say that they don't exist, but we've really mastered the process in a way to minimize that to the extent that if you go through the steps that we coach you through, that you're going to have a very high success rate in getting traditional medical doctors to work with you.
Okay, so when you say that if we get this testing done in the way that you recommend and we're coached to the step of the medical doctors could possibly remove the foreign objects?
Well, just because you come up positive in an RF scan, you cannot say you're implanted. What you can say is, for whatever reason, you have tangible data that shows that there's a frequency emission that is detected, and here's the key, in very specific focal areas around the human anatomy. Now, when you do, at least in our process, you can superimpose the scans over each other, and they're always identical in the areas in which we get a positive result. And so there are three categories. The first category is the general population, or AHI, or Havana syndrome victims. Okay, you can superimpose their scans over each other, and they'll all match up. You can get the military guys who have been in the military. Their scans are slightly different than the AHI civilians, but you can superimpose them over each other, and they'll all match up. And then you have a third population, which is the prison population, or those who have been incarcerated, and the same results happen. They're slightly different than the military and the civilian population, but you can put their scans over each other, and they all match up. And that's what's important.
Right. It's so funny. I've been doing this for, just moderating this call for a while, and I certainly, a few groups stand out for me, not so much the prison population, but certainly veterans. I mean, they have a class of them. You're saying basically that they have a class to themselves. And I see that as a particular category, and I'm not sure why, but we do notice that, and there's a group of us that have been looking at the data that we received from a previous scan, and we're just looking at that. So that you say that is interesting. The Havana syndrome, the veterans, and the prison population. Okay.
Those are three categories. Now, just to expound upon that, at our last retreat in Tucson, Arizona, there were no TIs per se. And I'll talk about why I don't like to use that terminology. And it's no offense to anyone, because that's not the intent whatsoever. I sincerely care about the community, and my whole focus and objective is to accomplish the mission, and the mission is to get a win. And if we get just 1 or 2 wins, we win for the whole population, everyone who's suffering with this. Now, and this group that was at the retreat, they were just the general population. And I did a presentation about how we came today to pulling out implants out of these cases. And everyone wanted to get scanned. And to my surprise, well, not to my surprise, but there were military subcontractors there that I didn't know about, and I didn't know this until after the scans were done. And there were a couple of individuals in the general population that did come up positive that don't suffer any of these symptoms. What was interesting about the military subcontractor, I asked, because I could see where he was lighting up and these very focal areas on the human body, and I asked, do you work for the military? And he says, no, I'm a military subcontractor. And I said, well, that explains it. So at least for that aspect, if I see that pattern pop up, the likelihood of them working for the military or a military subcontractor is very high. Now, those who were in the general population that came up positive, and where I was surprised, did come up positive in 2 locations, and 1 location that I hadn't seen with our type of scan. The right and left arm, shoulders, and asked what they got there, and they said they've got a vaccine shot. And in the lungs, we were finding people coming up positive in the lung area. Now, this was a very small percentage of everyone who attended the retreat, but it was happening. So it started to make me think, what really happened during that COVID campaign where they wanted everyone to get the jab?
Very interesting.
And I did put a link in the chat for a video that's out there about our process. I was recently interviewed by Project Unity, Jay Anderson, and he's out of the UK. And the UK is really up in arms about this stuff right now. And that short that he put out really touched a lot of people. We're almost up to 700,000 views on that. And that's the first time about this particular topic, I think, that we've had anything that's had that much proliferation and traction in the general population. But what is happening, there are some naysayers that are trying to discredit the Don DeVore case. They're trying to say that this was a document that was produced in the 90s, which is complete fallacy. And then they try to say, because Jay mistakenly said that this was done in 2020, but he misquoted himself because the title of the document is the 2020 neurochip implant. But this case had been going on since 2016. It's just that there were several filings, and that particular one that I show where we obtained that in Exhibit 2 was filed in 2019. So it's important, and I encourage everyone, if you can at least make a comment to the person who's the naysayer who's really trying to discredit it really hard, to give your opinions about that, and to at least share that link with someone who is outside the TI community. If everyone can do that, we can continue to let that grow its traction and let that reach the masses exponentially. So I would encourage you to do that. Any other questions? Did we lose you?
Yeah, I think she's having some with her audio.
Okay.
Hello?
There you are.
Yes, we hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Listen, I want to make sure that we get that link and put it everywhere. So we're going to put it in my J.A.M notes on TI events. Is that okay, Tranquility?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to put it on my website, GoGi'sJam.com, and so that we can all share that link. I think it's very important. We're certainly familiar with the Don DeVore case, and actually we have a little clip we want to hear from share with that before we take Q&A. If you have questions, you can begin getting in queue. For Jesse Beltran, I thank you for sharing the information you have for us. I did have one or two things I wanted to state. I know you had some cases in court. Can you share about one of your, what I just want to ask, because I know this community is very really wants to get tangible evidence. And so I wanted to see if we do get evidence and we do get to the point where we're going to court, do you appear or are you available if needed?
Yeah, well, if as long as I've done whatever work that I do and whatever the results are, and particularly if they're positive, I will 100% support you. I'm probably one of the few people that will go to court for you. I have no qualms about testifying to what the results are.
Beautiful. Thank you. Very important. And any case, like I'm not sure if you were involved with the James Walbert case back in the day, but if you know about it, did you have any experience or dealing with it?
Well, James Walbert, I was not involved in his case. I had conversations with James before in the past, and in fact, James is the one who recommended that I speak with Dr. John Hall, and that's how that relationship developed. It was because of James Walbert's referring me to Dr. Hall. No, he's got a strong case. Again, he's got tangible evidence, and because he had the tangible evidence, he was able to prevail in court. So that's the whole key here, is do things very methodically. Stay away from subjectivity until you have evidence.
Well, I am forming a group, and if anyone's interested in scans, I'm going to form a group for Jesse Beltran scans in January. And if you're interested, please send me an email to the Justice Action Meeting at proton.me. And I hope I'm not jumping ahead. I hope that I will make sure that it's okay with you. I'll call your office and see if we can set that up.
With my team, and they'd be more than happy to come.
All right. Thank you. And so we're going to work on that for January in the Northeast, if anybody's interested, and then we'll go from there. But I know people have questions for you, Jesse. I admire your work. I've admired it from back in the day. I know that you've been a part of several cases, and I know ICACT. I'm familiar with that organization, and I know that you were the president. So what we're looking to do now is get concrete evidence, and because we believe that things are opening up, the program is coming to an end, and this is only GoGi's speaking. So, but not only me.
This is important.
Okay, sure.
Just so you know, just how high the work that ISACT and the team and everyone who was involved to make all these things happen has reached. 2 months ago, I got the call from the top doctor of a 3-letter agency who was treating around 338 Havana syndrome federal employee cases. And I was surprised because I just thought it was a shot in the dark. How that happened is someone high level within an organization here in the United States had confided in me that in his dealings with people about this topic in government, that they really didn't know what to do with the federal employees. They didn't know what was going on. I'm still kind of skeptical about that, but I take everyone at face value until you prove me wrong. And so I said, well, he says, you really need to try to reach out if you think you know the answer. And so I did. I sent an email, and I was surprised that I got the phone call back. And he says to me, he goes, well, Mr. Beltran, looks like you and John Hall are kind of Renaissance men. And kind of jokingly, and I said, well, not really, but I'll take it as a compliment. And he goes, well, quite frankly, you're probably wondering why I'm calling you. And I said, yes. And he says, there's only one reason I'm calling you. And he says, the reason I'm calling you is because you're removing implants.
Oh, boy.
And he wanted to know what I knew. And I'm sure he already knew everything about me. But I said, well, because he thought I was looking for recognition or credit for what we've done. And I go, no, that's absolutely not. And for those of you who don't know me, I hate being in the forefront. I hate being out there as the first voice. I'd rather be behind the scenes coaching people on what to do. That's where my comfort zone is. Being out in front of the camera is not my comfort zone. But I did say, no, I'm not looking for any recognition whatsoever. I'm calling sincerely because I care. And if what was conveyed to me that you guys really don't know where to go with the Savannah syndrome with people, I just wanted to convey to you what we've discovered. And he agreed with me that there's overlap. And what he meant by overlap is the symptoms are very similar, according to him. And when I told him our process, I said, look, you're a medical doctor. You know medicine. What we're doing is technology, which is outside the scope of medicine. So what's going to happen to most people when they go see the doctor, doctors don't have autonomy anymore. They're not trained to think anymore. They just check the boxes, and if you say you're having auditory symptoms, you're automatically railroaded into the mental health industry. So because this was happening to federal employees, they weren't railroaded into the mental health industry. They're opening up about the Havana syndrome or AHI phenomenon. I said, I just wanted to give you information that you guys need to at least consider this and start doing RF testing. I said, I know you have resources. I know you have people who are talented enough to do this type of work. And so I just wanted to share that with you. I said sincerely, because if they're suffering, I don't want anyone to suffer. But if I can at least help there, maybe we could start getting help in the civilian population. And that's my goal. I said, because he asked me what my goal is. I said, my goal is to help everyone. And then he confided in me. He says, we know what the issue is.
Well, I sure hope they do. The fact that, I'm happy that you are open to the civilian population and not just to the diplomats. And I believe that there will be a path. At some point, people will realize that it's everyday citizens as well as diplomats who are impacted by Havana syndrome, because it's our belief that those who are electronically assaulted for over 6 months they have impacted, or they have Havana syndrome or anomalous health incident, and these implants will show up as concrete evidence of such, of what we've been experiencing in our bodies. So I'm really pleased to present a way that the community can get proof, can get, objective proof of what's going on and what's happening. And so it's so timely and it's so imperative. And so I'm glad to do that. I wanted to mention, I want to take a minute before we open up because I know everyone has questions, and I wanted to hear, we're going to hear a clip. We had scheduled to hear a clip from Dawn DeVore's case, and I would hate for them to try to water it down. It was a very key case. I'm actually still studying it, but she, was really phenomenal in that she stood up. She was a whistleblower for the prisoners and what was going on in that institution, and, ended up targeted herself, her daughter, and her granddaughter, from my understanding, had implants. And she then entered a lawsuit and prevailed. Although it shows as dismissed, she prevailed. And so we wanted to share a particular clip. And then, Sir Dan, you have a reading. And then I hope you're available, Mr. Beltran. We have some questions for you from the community.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right. So Lady T, Sir Dan, and then Q&A. I can't hear it. I don't think we can hear it. Maybe it's my phone. I don't know if it's my phone.
It sounded like my voice.
Dawn DeVore?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it does sound like you, but
No, I'm hearing.
Right, voice. But Oh. Lady T, you have the. Oh, okay. Lady T?
I think she might be having audio issues.
Oh, okay.
Hi, we can hear you.
Can we? Okay. So we're going to go to Sir Dan and come back because you sound, but it sounds far away. The video sounds far away? Yeah, you sound far away. So does the video. Oh, okay. You want to try again? Go ahead and let Dan go. Okay. Sir Dan, ready for you, sir.
All right. This is abstract from Neuro Wars here, from Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force, Joshua Graham, and Brian Brannigan, a major in the United States Air Force. Mysterious attacks on the human brain have begun plaguing U.S. diplomats and officials with increasing frequency, ranging from overseas diplomatic outposts to right here in the United States. Known in the media as Havana Syndrome, these attacks appear to be signaling a new form of warfare, one that is focused on enhancing, targeting, and weaponizing the human brain, neural warfare. Indeed, the human brain is at the center of a biotechnological revolution currently underway. At the same time, great power competition has returned to the forefront of international relations, as China and Russia seek to contest America's global leadership. In an increasingly globalized and interconnected world, this contest is ultimately a battle of ideas and influence, with more value placed on information and non-lethal means to manipulate and control both adversaries and domestic populations alike. The battle for influence begins and ends in the human mind, where reality is perceived. The implications of these developments point to both a new form and domain of warfare centering on the human brain. By highlighting recent attacks targeting the brain and revealing research from the United States and its two main competitors, China and Russia, this thesis seeks to argue the neuro war is not just coming, but rather is already here and is likely to fundamentally alter conflict and warfare.
Thank you so much, Sir Dan. The neuro war is here. You would like to make a comment, Mr. Beltran? If not, I'm going to move on to, let's see if Lady T has her thing. Thank you so much for reading, Sir Dan.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very on point. Honestly, in 2009, probably through 2015, 2016, that was the experimental phase here in the United States based on the data that we had been gathering. But during that time, Putin gave a presentation to the Politico where he said the first superpower to master psychotronic weapons will be the superpower to rule the world. And I think that's exactly what is happening today. I think we are in an arms race with the psychotronic weaponry systems. And the reason I say this is because it makes no sense to go after our brightest minds in the CIA, the FBI, our top-notch diplomats, the brightest mind in the embassies globally. It makes no sense that we would try to take them out. So it is highly probable that this is probably a foreign entity that is doing that. Now, I'm not saying that our government isn't doing it because we possess this technology. Russia was at the forefront before us with Igor Smirnov and his developments. And then he passed away and his wife ended up selling the technology to the United States for $999 million, so almost $1 billion. Then you have China who has it. You have the UK, and we know the UK has it because of our organizational interview with Barry Trower, who testifies to all of this. And then I believe we're missing out one other country, and that's India. And so we can't forget about them. But they're up and coming. They're the sleeping giant that people are not paying attention to.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Lady T, do you have the Dawn DeVore?
I'm ready.
Okay, great. And we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good. All right.
This is the smoking gun that we've been waiting for. And Dawn DeVore was an RN for the Department of Corrections in California. And she became a whistleblower and became part of this program. Interestingly enough, Dawn DeVore had extracted implants just like my client did. They were very, very similar in structure and type. Now, Dawn DeVore, unfortunately for her, this was done to her, but fortunately for the community, she intercepted some evidence, and this was submitted as Exhibit 2. And this was a document that was only meant for high-level management in the Department of Corrections. And it's entitled IntelliConnection, a security division of IBM. Confidential, limited distribution only, level 9 communication. And it's titled 2020 Neurochip Implant. And it says the control of crime will be a paramount concern in the 21st century. We must be ready with our security products when the demand for them becomes popular. Our Research and Development Division has been in contact with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, the California Department of Corrections, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and the Massachusetts Department of Corrections to run limited trials of the 2020 Neurochip implant. We have established representatives of our interest in both management and institutional levels within these departments. Federal regulations do not yet permit testing of implants on prisoners, but we have entered into contractual agreements with privatized healthcare professionals and specified correctional personnel to do limited testing of our products. We have also had major success in privately owned sanitariums with implant technology. Think about the most vulnerable in our society.
We need, however, to expand our testing to research how effective the 2020 neurochip implant performs in those identified as the most aggressive in our society. Limited testing has produced a number of results. In California, several prisoners were identified as members of the security threat group. They were brought to the Health Services Department in Pelican Bay and tranquilized with advanced sedatives developed by our Cambridge, Massachusetts laboratories. The implant procedure takes 60 to 90 minutes depending upon the experience of the technician. We are working on a device which will reduce the time by as much as 60%. The results of the implants on 8 prisoners yielded the following results. The implants served as surveillance monitoring devices in the threat group. Now that's important because they can see and hear everything in the environment if this is done to you. Implants disabled 2 subjects during an assault on correctional staff. All they had to do was send a frequency to the chips and it incapacitated them. Universal side effects in all 8 test subjects revealed that when implants were sent 116 megahertz signal, all subjects became lethargic and slept on an average of 18 to 22 hours per day. All subjects refused recreation periods. Obviously, if you're lethargic, you're not going to do that. You're also going to refuse exercise. Each subject was monitored for aggressive activity during the test period, and the findings are conclusive that out of the 8 test subjects exhibited no aggression even when provoked. Each subject experienced only minor bleeding from the nose and ears 48 hours after the implant due to initial adjustment. Each subject had no knowledge of the implant for the test period, and each implant was retrieved under the guise of medical treatment. Now, this is a clear violation of the Nuremberg Code. Any experimentation done on a human being is supposed to be given full disclosure.
Very important. So this tells us what the implants, what they're able to do with the implants that we have in our bodies. Targeted individuals, most if not all targeted individuals have implants, and they're able to conduct surveillance, communicate back and forth, collect data, and in this case with the prisoners, they were able to incapacitate them. It impact how, whether they wanted to exercise or not, their entire mood, their behavior, and it's just unreal the kind of studies that are going on. And this goes into the 3 categories that you mentioned, Mr. Beltran, and that's the Havana syndrome, the veterans, the prisoners, and some people I believe are in more than one, because everybody, probably all of the targeted individuals who have been assaulted, electronically or with these frequencies, develop Havana syndrome or anomalous health incident. So, I mean, this was your voice, so this is your.
I'm confused, so I apologize.
In reference to the Dawn DeVore case, so yeah. If you'd like to add anything, you can. Then I'm going to open up to the community.
Yeah, well, I will say, Dawn DeVore, that case is very important for the community, but it makes it seems like it's really recent technology. The fact is that I have documents that have been given to me from our congressional government, that shows that they have been doing this since the early 70s. And this type of experimentation is very prevalent in Vacaville Prison. And in the documentation, it states even back then they were able to see and hear everything that they were doing in their environment, including read their thoughts. So this is nothing new. They've just refined it. Now with the advent of AI, it's basically this process on steroids. And we need to all stand up and band together. And the only way it's going to happen is if we include everyone, every single civilian on this planet. And they have to understand that this is about us, but ultimately it's about the future of our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. And that's what we need to remember. So my suggestion to everyone, I would encourage everyone, right now the timing is right with Colonel Greg Egren giving his testimony in front of Congress on May 8th of 2024 regarding AHIs and Havana syndrome. The fact is that they're saying it's happening, and it's happening here in our homeland. We have no better opportunity than to band together right now and really be really strategic and methodical about how we engage the general population so they embrace us and so they accept us. And sometimes you have to take baby steps, and that is the advice that I would give to everyone.
Okay, thank you. So, all right, so we're going to open up for Q&A now, and we'll take one person at a time for Jesse Beltran. Remember, if you're planning to be scanned, we're going to have a scan in the Northeast in January, and it'll be after the inauguration, and place and date to be disclosed. You will send an email to me at the Justice Action Meeting at proton.me, and we'll move forward. All right, so first caller, please.
Hello, area code 304. You're up first. Hello, targeted West Virginia. You're up first. Shall I move on, Gaji?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay. Hi, next caller, please.
Hi, my name is James Lico. And
hi, James.
Hi. I probably had some implants from where I worked at Lockheed Martin Marietta back in the 90s. I don't know what there was, but I want to specifically thank Mr. Beltran, because back in about 2013, he was nice enough to scan me and another friend of mine. And I believe I had maybe 4 or 5 implants. I just remember I had some in my arms and in other various places. And it was in Sacramento. We drove to there, and he scanned us, and I had 4 or 5 implants. So, thank you, Mr. Beltran.
Well,
and
thank you, James.
With you, James. Now, just remember, when you come up positive on an RF scan, and is it not to say that we're not implanted. Right now, we can only say we came up positive on an RF scan for some reason. Until we get correlating medical imagery and or the implants removed.
Okay.
I encourage everyone to continue to learn this language, this methodology, because you're going to get a lot further in the medical industry if you do that, than going to them, look, I came up positive on an RF scan, I'm implanted. It really is a collage, and there are several steps that we have to add to that in order to prove what we already know. Okay, but
okay.
God bless you. Thank you. I'm glad you're okay, and please continue the good fight.
Okay. So I
take care, James.
I know I had more implants put in my body when I was in the hospital to have kidney stones removed. They did it right after the operation. I was still out, and that happened. Okay.
Do you mind if I ask what hospital that was?
It was in Auburn, Washington.
Okay.
That's the name of that's the state, the city and state. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of the hospital. I think it was
okay.
Auburn.
Okay. No, that's okay. Yeah, that was enough information.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, James.
All right.
And if you're interested in going further, just send me an email.
Yes.
But thank
I
you.
would be.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. Take care now.
Thank you.
All right. Next caller, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So Jesse, so I was multitasking a little bit when you were talking, and you remember you said something about COVID. You said something about government contractors like refusing the COVID vaccine. Can you repeat what you said about the COVID vax?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I did not use those words in the same context or sentence. What I did say earlier in my conversations is that I have speculation of what was happening during the mass COVID injection campaign globally. Is what I was inferring.
Yeah, because that's always been a suspicion of mine as well, because my stuff kind of started, fairly, maybe overtly, like maybe 2 years after COVID. But I started getting followed like during COVID when I was, refusing the vax, refusing to wear a mask, and all this stuff. I was getting followed around stores and harassed and stuff. That's when it started, after I started behaving like that. So, but anyhow, that's cool. I just want to look at my next question. That's all I have for now. Thanks so much for everything you did. And yeah, you answered my question about where'd he go? What happened to the ISACA organization, all that. So that's cool that you gave that answer. And just thanks for being back, back with us. And I just think you're an excellent resource. And I love your background. I was an EMT as well. And I'll yield back. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Although the ISAC website is not up, I still own the URL, but ISAC is still prevalent on Facebook, and that's where I engage with those conversations regarding the organization.
Oh, okay.
I am contemplating bringing it back as things progress and we get newer material and newer evidence. We are talking about re-engaging the actual website. But if you go to Facebook, you can still find the International Center Against the Abuse of COVID Technology.
Okay. Lastly, yeah, please do bring back that site. I was having to go on the Wayback Machine, and I was just loving the material on there. So it would be great if you could resurrect that. I just think that's just a wonderful resource. And again, thank you. And yeah, I'll yield back.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining the J.A.M. Okay, next caller, please. Hi, it's probably you. Say hello.
Area code 530. Can you hear us? You're up next.
Oh, I'm at 530.
That's you.
Okay, we hear you.
Hi. Yeah, this is I'm really new to all this. I've just recently discovered targeted justice and just found out a year ago that I'm a targeted individual. And though I think I had been for many years, it's become very aggressive in the past several years. I'm in my 70s, and I most recently, my biggest concern is that the medical offices and doctors and Medicare and Blue Shield, they all seem to be colluding together to get me taken out of my home and institutionalized. And I know you recently, and I missed it, you recently had a Dr. Pentina or something like that.
Dr. Pimenta, Dr. Linda Pimenta. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and above all, I'm wondering, is there any way that I could contact her, since I missed that and I'm really desperate for, how to protect myself from this?
Absolutely. Okay, so let me just say this. I meant to mention this before. The call before last, I had Dave Case on, and we put the information on YouTube. I was suspended for 1 week because of the information, because it was so good. They didn't want it out there. And then last week, Dr. Pimenta was on, so I think we were able to post that. Am I correct, Tranquility? Is Dr. Pimenta's episode up on YouTube?
I'm not sure. I have to go back and check. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. So I think because we were suspended for a week, then we're just able to put it up now. So, ma'am, I'm going to put the recorded tape of her call on the YouTube, on GoGi's After Dinner Jam YouTube channel. And I can also, if you email me, I can give you her email address. I don't want to quote it improperly. I think it's Pimenta Medical and Psychiatric Services, but it might be the other way around. So I want to, if I can, I'll get it I'll get it and state it before I get off the phone. If not, if you send me an email, the Justice Action Meeting the Justice Action Meeting at proton.me. The THE Justice Action. The Justice Action Meeting at proton.me.
At proton.me as in Mike Echo?
As in me, yeah. Mike Echo. And I'll send you her email so that you can reach out to her.
Thank you so much.
She'll be very helpful.
That.
God bless you. Yeah, we have to. We want to get
so
properly diagnosed. Yes, I know. I'm so sorry. And we're believing the end.
For Jesse Beltran, I'm sure that I have implants in me. Do they ever have anybody doing this scanning in Northern California? Everything seems to be on the East Coast.
Well, I'm in Reno, Nevada. It's fairly close. Oh. Yeah. But I want to make a comment here, okay?
Okay.
For talking about best practices and how to keep yourself safe, particularly when you're engaging with the medical community. Now, by all means, I preface this. Do never lie to your medical practitioner about your symptoms. Don't tell them your theory. If you tell them your theory, is where I see most people get into trouble, okay? And some of this might be by design construct, but when you go in, you just want to talk what you're physically experiencing. Don't tell them what you think. If you go in there telling them, I'm a targeted individual, and I feel that my body is full of implants, and this is why I'm having these symptoms, you're already behind the 8 ball by miles, because you're going to be railroaded into the mental health industry. Secondarily, the state is going to come in, particularly if you have assets. And
I have a home.
And that could be in jeopardy. So it's important. This is why I stress and I emphasize there is a way to communicate with the medical community about this phenomenon, and there's a way not to. If you go in saying those things, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to be railroaded into the mental health industry. Now remember, even the federal employees to this day, they're just now working on getting a medical code for the VA for Havana syndrome. The civilian medical communities know nothing about this. They're completely clueless. And so this is why you have to be very, very careful. And this is why we coach people on how to maneuver through this so you don't find yourself in that position.
Yeah. Well, I know I really blew it about a year and a half ago at one of the medical clinics. I keep running from leaving a medical clinic and going to the next and going to the next as these things start happening. But at that first clinic, what I did not know I was a targeted individual at that time. I found out at the end of last year. So I did not know fully what was going on, but I was aware that I was being stalked and surveilled 24/7. And that's what I told the doctor. And, I didn't tell them that I was a TI. I didn't know what a TI was. But from there, they've built a case. I keep getting Medicare statements and Blue Shield statements lying about every appointment I have, and even saying I've been to 6 different appointments that I was never at with a doctor I have never seen. And when I tell them, they say, oh, we'll do a reversal. And, of course, I never see that reversal. They never send me updated stuff saying what I really was there for. And when I go to the clinics and ask for a printout of what transpired in my appointments, it's totally different from what I'm receiving from Medicare and Blue Shield. I mean, those things are saying that it was an evidentiary behavioral assessment. First 30 minutes were about advanced care planning. And, I mean, everything is telling, and that I'm not able to make medical decisions anymore for myself or able to care for myself anymore. This is terrifying to me.
Yeah, and I'm sorry you're going through that. But the good thing is you are in the state of California, and they're very proactive with patient rights in obtaining their medical files. So you have the right to that medical file. It is your property.
Okay.
And you can request the entire file, not the appointment notes.
Yeah, it appears to me what they're printing out for me is something altogether different from what they're sending to Medicare and Blue Shield.
Well, that's why you need the medical file, right? You have the medical file, you have all the evidence, right? That you can counter what is being said through the insurance companies. That's one thing.
Yeah.
The other problem, the other thing you don't ever want to say, I'm being surveilled. People are following me. Automatically you're done. You're going to be diagnosed with psychosis or schizophrenia. Although schizophrenia doesn't happen it's unusual to happen later in life.
At this age.
Yeah, at this age, yeah. But
what they're doing now is, at first they were trying to prove I was crazy, and now they're more than anything trying to prove that I have dementia. And they make statements when I call like, "Oh, you don't remember?" In the billing offices and stuff. You don't remember, in both
what
Medicare, Blue
Shield. If you can, go get an independent evaluation.
Well, that's what Dr. Pimenta does. Dr. Pimenta is a friend to the community. She is very aware of the phenomenon. She is a TI, and she looks over records, and she'll provide a consultation for you. So I'm going to send you her email address, and and you can move forward with her. Yeah. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Jesse, for answering. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate you guys so much.
Right. Thank you. Blessings, ma'am.
Hi, this is Tim from Buffalo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I just made a couple comments. I just scheduled a neurologist visit, and I simply told them that that I was suffering from anomalous health events, and that I was feeling shocks and heat in different places in my body. That's all I gave them. I recently got a brain scan from an emergency room, and I got my medical records. I did call United Healthcare, my insurance, and they told me that they do cover anomalous health testing. And I know some of the call centers are out of the country, or there's some of a language barrier. So I repeated the question, and they said, yes, that was routine, which shocked me. So I guess I'll find out when I go to the neurologist.
You will, but most likely it's because of the language barrier.
So the other things I have...
Be very careful in coming to a conclusion. Just talk about your symptoms.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Just very, very careful.
Okay, I will. The other things that I've had luck on is gathering evidence on the WavePad app, the free app. I recorded me sleeping, and it sounded like it was repeating words. It sounded like almost like an AI program, and the app was able to transcribe the words from this frequency. And in the meantime, you could hear me snoring the whole time. So I'm wondering if that and other apps that can pick up these frequencies can be used as evidence as far as transcribing these recordings.
I couldn't speak on that because I haven't heard that. It's interesting because I would be wondering, number one, how is the app picking up the frequency? If it is picking up a frequency, you should be able to have like a spectrum analyzer and set it on record and see if there's any correlation between any specific frequencies on the spectrum analyzer and what you're interpreting through this AI app.
Well, the WavePad was an app. I recorded the frequencies on a regular micro recorder.
Okay.
And then I plugged it into my computer to download the recordings. And the app itself, I have the free. They do have a paid one, and it has all kind of removing the noise. The decibels that were hitting me appeared to be anywhere from negative 18 dBs to 70 dBs.
Are you getting a frequency number though?
A what?
Are you getting a hertz, megahertz, or gigahertz?
Yes, I do, but I'm not very technical. This app has all of that, but I don't understand exactly how to work all of it. But there was one, and I don't know the number offhand, but it was pretty high. It was very high.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what that was. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation here. Again, without using strict protocols and methodology.
Yeah.
We're just speculating here. But that's just, it'd be interesting to see what frequency you were detecting. So in other words, was it in the hertz range, megahertz, gigahertz, terahertz, whatever it may be, and then see if there's a correlation. But, you have to set up the right environment in order to do this type of testing.
Yeah, it was just odd that it was actually picking up words, transcribing words from the frequency that you could not hear with normal hearing. It was picking up. Yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you for your commentary. Mhm. Next caller, please. Hello.
Hi, Dana.
Yeah, this is Dana.
Hi, Dana.
No.
I'm sorry?
We can't hear you, Dana.
Oh, I was asking how it's got you. Hello?
Yes, Dana, you have a question?
Can you hear me now?
It's going in and out, so go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to know if you were to come to like a state, someone's state, how many people could you see a day, and what would the cost be for you to come to a state?
Okay, yeah, not a problem. It usually is more cost-effective if we do a clinic. Obviously, it costs more if you have to fly to me. because you got lodging, the flight costs, all that times how many people. Generally, the preliminary RF scan is where I encourage everyone to start out, is $500, and what it includes is the J.A.M 20 Pro scan. If you come up positive, then we do the Seiko frequency reader. So let's say, for example, if you came up positive in the shoulder, we would tag it, come back with the frequency reader, see what numerical frequencies we're detecting in that region. That would be everything we do is all evidentiary based. So we videotape everything in this process. And why that's important, because if you get to the point where you're going to court, when the jury sees you standing next to the detector and it goes off, having you step away, come back, and it's always in that same location, it's very impactful. The other thing we do is that along with that, you'll get a written report, and I'm probably one of the few here that says that I will testify for you on the results of the RF scan.
Okay, and if we were to come to you, what state are you in?
I'm in Reno, Nevada.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Next caller, please.
Hi, my name is Anthony Joseph Ricciardelli. I have Substack. That's https://Anthony Ricciardelli, spelled RICCIARDELLI.substack.com. I've had V2K embedded a target individual all my life, starting in 2020. I was in Ridgewood, New York. In 2021, I had V2K that directed me to actually see who I believe to be Donald Trump in the presidential motorcade go by. I know he's going to be the president again soon, but what I want to say is that I think it's important for every target individual to know that it is very much the American Nazi Party and the Aryan Nation that is behind the targeting, and that's something that I'd like to hear anyone comment on or respond, because I feel like that's something that we all need to kind of get together and protest about as a group, because it's a very real attack on all good and decent Americans.
Yeah, I can't speak to any specific group that is doing this. Most of the time, this is biomedical research corporations or corporations in their R&D process. We know that the DoD does this. We know that there are a lot of military subcontractor corporations out there. Everyone's in a race to have the best of the best, but I don't have any, at least over the last 20 years, and what evidence we've been pulling to indicate that a specific group like that. Not to say it's not happening, I just don't have that evidence.
No, I understand. I appreciate it coming from a scientific perspective there, sir. And I understand you'll be in the Northeast as well. Is that correct?
We're planning on it. We're hoping.
That's why
It'll be in the Northeast in January. It'll be in January, probably with the 20s, towards the end of the month, the last 10 days of the month. If you're available, you can send me an email.
Absolutely, I'll definitely be there.
Meeting. All right,
that'd be
the
wonderful.
Justice Action Meeting. Okay, thank you, sir. What's your name?
GoGi, thank you so much for all your hard. My name is Anthony Ricciardelli, and I wanted to thank you very much, GoGi, for all your hard work. I know you're located in New York as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Anytime.
I look forward to your email. Okay. All right. Next caller, please.
Hi, GoGi. Hi, Jesse. Thank you for all of your work. It's Daylene.
Hi, Daylene.
Well, I'm curious, why do we need more than one implant, according to them?
According to who?
To whoever puts the chips in us. Why do we have more than one implant? Wouldn't one just give them what they need to survive?
I can tell you. Well, it depends on what the purpose is. We have cases where people have been implanted with just a tracking chip, and that's usually in the scapula area. Okay,
Okay.
With those who are being implanted in the TMJs, base of the neck, and those areas, it's sort of like having surround sound, isn't it? But like the documentation that in the Don DeVore case, the reason you need more than one implant is because if you wanted to affect a certain physiological phenomenon, and depending on what area you're targeting, you can't just do it with one. You need multiple. So it's sort of like a network, so to speak.
I see. And they make me so drowsy. I don't sleep at night. When I do sleep, I have nightmares, which is very rare to sleep. But I am so groggy during the day, I can get nothing done. And when you mentioned about the prisoners being lethargic in the Don DeVore case, I think they're making me lethargic. Is there anything I can do to combat that? Do you know?
Getting in touch with your inner voice, your own autonomy. And here's where my hypnotherapy background comes in. As long as you don't have a mental illness diagnosis, it's easier for me to work with you. It's not to say that I can't. We just have to include the psychiatrist or psychologist that's treating you, or physician, in order to help you. But there are some methodologies to help you be more resilient, to use your critical thinking factors, to block out certain aspects of this phenomenon, and we have been pretty successful with that.
Oh, that's really good. Now, and so would I get a consultation with you to learn these things and learn to use them?
Yes, and the great thing is you don't have to come see me when it comes to the hypnosis stuff. We can actually do the sessions via Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Daylene, you were supposed to do a poem for us, correct?
Yes. Whenever I'm ready to do it anytime, GoGi. So you do it now?
All right. Well, let me see. Hold on. And no, it's getting late. I'm sorry. I would have loved it. So I'll schedule you in for next. I'll schedule it in for next week. Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So let's see how many more we have. We're gonna answer a few more questions and go. In the meantime, Jesse, I have a question on the floor. Were you admitted as an expert to the court? I know you said you'll go to court for us.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Next caller, please. And let me check on how many more.
Hi, Jesse. My name is Kathy. I'm calling from Georgia. Thank you for the information you provided us tonight.
Thank you.
I have a two-part question. I've been in the healthcare industry for over 35 years, and I know coding as far as diagnosis codes is very important. Do you think there will be an entire section or something new to come about in reference to how TIs are diagnosed? Will we have our own diagnosis codes maybe?
Well, that's something that I can't predict. If you look at the feds right now, they're just barely now, after that last hearing on May 8th of this year, mandating that the VA comes up with a code for Havana syndrome, or AHIs. They're yet to admit that this is happening in the civilian population. So until we get traction there where they admit that civilians are suffering with this as well, I think we have a long road to toe. That's why it's important that we engage the general population and get them to understand that they are not immune to this happening to them. or get them to understand that they are not immune to having this happen to their children or their loved ones, their husbands, their wives, mothers, fathers, uncles. No one is immune to this. If you step on the wrong toes or you just happen to be unlucky and cross the wrong path, you can be in this program. So it's important that we engage the general population. It's the only way we're going to get the support and numbers that we need.
Absolutely, absolutely. As long as this program exists, our constitutional and human rights are at stake. And it is so, unfair. I know life is not fair, but it's so unfair to everyone that's in this program and to everyone, period. So this should not exist. And I'm happy, I'm excited about change because I believe change is coming. All right, ma'am, I hope that your question was answered. We're going to continue. Thank you so much.
I had another question. It was a two-part question.
All right, it has to be quick. And I also want to say, if you've already asked the question, not you, ma'am, if you've already came in queue, please don't come back in the queue. No duplicates. Not tonight. We're running out of time, and I want to make a few announcements. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. The other is, I know you mentioned a provider had called you in reference to a patient because of your background, I guess your specialty in dealing with TI things. Will you be, or are there other, I guess you'll be considered like a specialist to educate more providers
this wasn't
in the private sector about it?
He didn't say a provider. It was a three-letter. Oh, go ahead, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Top doctor of a three-letter agency in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
I promised.
All right.
I promised that I would not divulge his name, so I have to keep that promise because we got to keep the lines of communication open.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate that, ma'am. Thank you for your question, ma'am. All right. Next caller, please.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, Gaji. Really thank you for.
Hi, Tori.
Hi. Mm-hmm. This is really wonderful to have you on, Jesse. Thank you, Gaji, so much for this. My name is Tori. I'm in New Jersey. I work in IT. Just finished cybersecurity school, so I have a decent understanding of networks and particularly medical networks and wireless communications like microwave and how things can use that as a medium to communicate. My question for you, sir, I definitely would like to get a scan from you in the future. I've already been scanned by a nonlinear junction detector, and I would like you to briefly describe between an RF scan and a nonlinear junction detector, and is one better than the other, and their accuracy.
So, the nonlinear junction scan tests for, i.e., corrosive materials and or technology, circuitry, and other, I should use the word circuitry, whether it's on or off, so whether it's passive or active. And that is important, but it uses microwave transmissions. It's basically a microwave, sending out microwaves to these devices if they exist. Now, it can also test for a rusty nail, and you'll get an aspect of reading on these non-linear junction scans. But what you're most interested in seeing on a non-linear junction scan is a positive echo reading. So that's one aspect of this. Now, the type of scan that I do is using a frequency detector, the J.A.M 20 Pro, and its accuracy is 1 part per million in the field. And what's special about it is that it allows you to attenuate the device to where you have to be literally an inch or two within the emission. Okay, so that's important. The other aspect of it is that once we find a general area, because that's what it's used for, to find a location where it's finding some type of emission, then we'll tag that and we come back with a frequency counter, which will give us a numerical frequency number, whether it be in the megahertz, gigahertz range, and so forth. So it's the combination of the two that are important. My scan will not check for passive implants or technology. It only tests for active. And what's important about the active, because it's the active technology that is on 24/7, 357 days a year. Now, if you take our preliminary RF scan and you get a nonlinear junction scan, and those areas can superimpose over each other as a single individual, then that holds weight. It's merit. It's now tangible data. You now have two different scans who show the same information with regards to active tech. And so that has more standing. And then you have two separate testers. So this is all part of the big picture, the big collage of bringing your evidence and your data together.
Yes, sir.
So that's why it's important.
And one last thing. So prior to getting my scan, I actually just downloaded an EMF detector, and I did a baseline of my environment. I tested it against some wireless devices. Then I stepped away from those devices. And at random times, even in the middle of the night, I can scan myself, and then it will go off. Not all the time, but it seems. I actually sometimes feel a little strange, like brain fog, or like a little confusion, or the ability not to focus. So I'll just say, let me turn this thing on and scan myself, and sure enough, it'll actually go off and detect something. I know it's not on the same caliber as your equipment, but I just found it very interesting. So I recorded myself scanning, taking these scans, and sent them to Mr. John. And his reply was, "Oh, I think you could benefit from my services." So I then saw him, and then I got some positive results.
Okay, yeah. So it's a culmination of the two separate studies. If they're showing the same information, then that holds weight with regards to active. Because what is the complaint for most victims about the phenomenon? That they're being attacked 24/7, right? And what they're really referring to is the active technology. And so that's why, just inadvertently, that happens to be the results of our scan. But the reason we use our scan is because we don't have to have a shielded environment. With the nonlinear junction scan, it is ideal to have an environment to where it blocks out frequencies. That's why I believe John was using a bank vault when he could. We are taking it a step further. We're currently having a portable Faraday cage built so that we can not only do the preliminary RF scan, but then we can put you in the environment and test for frequency emission. So we can do it all in one shot. And that's coming in the near future.
Yeah, I do believe this is part of medical research as well as government surveillance, that they're testing something, because at this point now, targeted individuals we're a diverse background of people. We're not thugs or terrorists or criminals, so something else must be going on. And it's just the same symptoms. I've referred other people that they call me and tell me about their symptoms. I refer them to John. They have gone. There's probably someone on this call tonight. She called me a day or two ago, and she said she came up positive, and that was just based on the symptoms she told me about. But I do believe it's something to do with testing, and in the vision of law enforcement document, this is some sort of symposium with law enforcement agents where they get together to talk. And in this document from 2024 to 2034, in there, if you search, it says that we are interested in RFID and nanoparticles for the tracking of individuals. I have that document.
Yeah. Well, it would be wonderful if you could share that, because it just adds more to what we already have. So you bring up a really important point. What does incarceration look like in America in the next 15 to 20 years?
Oh, my God.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share it with you. It's going to be on my next radio show that I do on Awake Nation. I do a show in Chicago every other week. I'll give you a little bit of insight. So imagine this. You commit a crime, whether it's violent or nonviolent. You get prosecuted and convicted. Now you have a choice. Do you want to go to a hospital, or do you want to go to traditional incarceration? If you go to the hospital, Mr. Convicted Criminal, you will agree to allow us to erase your tendency in your brain, in your neurons, to commit this crime again in the future.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to imprint different memory sets so that you don't do this in the future.
You know what?
What are you going to choose? Because we're going to really stick it to you, Mr. Criminal. We're going to give you 20 years if you want to go the traditional way, or you can walk free in a week if you go into the hospital.
Wow.
One last thing. What you just said, there was a movie made called Minority Report with Tom Cruise. And believe it or not, the whole thing is about pre-crime and how to cut off crime by monitoring everyone.
Correct. Yeah. Or they can set
so
you
much.
up. What if they imprint a false memory because they don't like what you do, who you are, what you speak about? Then they imprint a memory set into your brain so that you go and engage in the behavior.
Right. Thank you
That's
so
what
much.
we're faced with, yeah.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you, Tori. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your support.
Sure.
All right. Next caller, please.
Well, Mr. Beltran, I think that was exactly what needed to be said just prior to my question for you. I have a son who has been in the Texas prison system for 3 years. He experienced all of the targeting for many, many years prior to being incarcerated. But within 2 months of entering the system, they sent him to the prison psychiatric unit, where the V2K and the electronic assault just was turned up, just real torture 24/7, and it's never stopped. So actually, my question was going to be for you. I was going to ask you a couple of questions, but one of them, you just talked about the imprinting false memories. The thing that I have noticed as time has gone on is that he always had very, very clear memory of things, but he has come up with some very odd memories of things that did not happen, absolutely did not, but he is absolutely certain that they did. And he listens to the V2K all the time. He listens to what they tell him because they tell him that they're going to get him out. And so, so he's very, very open, I think, to that kind of manipulation. But my question really was for you. Have you ever heard, is there any evidence that the officials in the prison system, and especially in the psychiatric units, which are run here in Texas by the University of Texas Medical Branch, have you ever heard of them actually being aware and part of this targeting? Or like, how do you advocate for somebody? Because I know what's going on with him, but I can't tell his therapist or the psychiatric staff or the warden, what I think is going on, because they definitely would, probably decide to send me to the too.
Yes.
Well,
oh my God.
The only way it's going to help your son is to get the evidence. Absolutely, these prison systems are doing it. That's what all the documentation says, and the confidential documentation that we're intercepting. The Don DeVore case is one. The FOIA release on the New World Vistas talks about exactly how they wanted to implement this program, and it talks specifically about these issues: imprinting false memory sets, taking a memory set from one individual, imprinting it in another, incapacitating them with these electromagnetic frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
I have FOIA release reports that specifically talk about mind control of prisoners, and it's 665 pages long. And so everything that is being done is being experimented on prisoners. And what's a travesty is the ACLU, who used to be the checks and balances against government crimes, constitutional violations, is no longer that. It's now been assimilated into the government. When we gave them, I called them specifically and gave them the Don DeVore case and that document, and they said, "We're sorry, we can't help you."
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
That's the ACLU.
Well, I mean, I know they do some things, but they represent some issues. So it's sad to see that they didn't take that one on in particular.
Well, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they were all about prisoners' rights.
Wow. What changed? Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Beltran, do you actually advocate in some way for individuals in prisons? Is there any way to do any testing? Have you ever heard of anyone that was able to actually get the prison to allow them to do any kind of testing?
Not the prison themselves. If you're incarcerated behind bars, there's no way. Because even in that Don DeVore document, look at what it says in the paragraph. It talks about, we cannot afford this to get out, and I'm inquiring and I'm paraphrasing. They could not afford for the public to be aware of them doing this non-consensual implantation because they could not withstand the financial windfall or the public scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way they're going to let us get in there and be tested. He's going to have to be out, and that's when you're going to have to get the evidence.
God bless you, ma'am. I know how painful that must be. His best advocate, the best thing he has in his corner right now is you, your faith, your support, and just your understanding of what he's going through.
Thank you so much. And I would like to say I did not understand for years what was going on until I found Targeted Justice a year ago. And then all of a sudden, all of it made sense. As I listened to you all talk on these Zoom calls, it's just been such a blessing to me because I was able to go to him then and say, oh, my God, now I understand. And that has helped tremendously. So thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Beltran.
God bless you. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Next caller, please. Jesse, we only have a few more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, GoGi's.
Is that Liliana all the way from? Hello?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Wow, that's beautiful. Liliana is calling from her home country. Where are you, Liliana, again? I'm on why it's
Buenos Aires, Argentina. Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Argentina, yes. Okay, yeah. Beautiful. Go ahead, my dear. I'm so glad you made it on the call.
Yes. Jesse, are you aware of the General Accounting Office, GAO, recent report, maybe a couple of months ago, stated not only a number of government employees, but a number of children, civilians, have been diagnosed with the Havana syndrome. So there's a big cover-up about civilians who have the Havana syndrome. So they're not coming out and telling us, that they're civilians who have this, including the children of employees and, of course, other civilians, us. So there's a big cover-up going on, and there's already evidence from the General Accounting Office that children civilians have it.
Well, that was my position as soon as I heard the hearing. That's what I said. I said, you're denying that civilians are having this, but you're admitting that federal employee family members, including their children, are suffering from this. They are civilians.
Right.
So by definition of that, civilians are being diagnosed and are being affected with this phenomenon. And right off the bat, the day that hearing came out, I was already on the podcast saying, look, they've admitted this, but they're saying it's only because of the environment that the parents were in that these children and family members are suffering from this.
It's a big cover-up.
Yeah, and Mark Zaid calls it the biggest cover-up. We have a movement where we want to share the fact that people that have been diagnosed with Havana syndrome, everyday citizens exist, and that we need attention. We need the same kind of, or even more, medical attention, vindication, exposure, and so forth, because it's just really, we're tired of being the pink elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lillian. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One comment.
Are you aware of another cover-up? And the other cover-up is in the General Assembly of 2023 of the United Nations. The Special Rapporteur on Torture for the UN, Ms. Alice Edwards, was studying for a number of months evidence that produced a report. Her annual report to the General Assembly last year is the production, trade, and use of military weapons by law enforcement to commit acts of torture. Are you familiar with that document?
I'm not familiar with that.
So the law enforcement is being recognized as being an integral part of this program. Then they're secretly using military weapons against civilians.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it is
the
not
United Nations
it's not anything new. In Chicago, I'm not sure if you've heard of the Hunan Square. It was a black site facility used by local law enforcement where they would scoop up political dissidents, who they considered political dissidents or activists. They would arrest them in public. People would think they were being taken downtown to get booked. But no one could find them. When the family members or attorneys were looking for them, there was no record of them ever being arrested. What was happening is they were being taken to Hunan Square and they were being tortured. Some of them were being sodomized with objects. And the gentleman, the officer who perfected this torture, ended up going to Guantanamo Bay to further teach what he had learned.
Wow. That's awful. And did they expose and did they stop this torture? I remember something vaguely about this.
Yeah, you can Google the article and read it. Now, I would assume because after that article that they shut that place down. But the fact is that it is happening, and it does happen here on U.S. soil.
Right. Which all of this is happening on U.S. soil, and it to me, it could not prevail unless our government was behind it, and behind it, period, supporting it, because I don't believe they would let adversaries come over here and torture us. I just don't. And so they're totally involved, and it just has to stop. And I think that right now we have the biggest opportunity that we've had of it stopping, and that is the administration that we see forming and taking charge on January 20th. So, I dare to believe that that's going to help begin turn this thing around. So, all right, Liliana, thank you for your question.
My last little question. Can you tell when you do the testing, Jesse, the difference between the implants and or semiconductors and nanotechnology and self-assembly nanotechnology, like Dr. Mihalcha is discovering a lot in her research, for instance? They're showing up.
So you wanted the difference between those four: implants, nanotechnology, self-assembling.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here's the answer to that. Again, I emphasize this to everyone. If you want to be successful, you need to make sure you're starting to use the right verbiage and language. We can only test for what the equipment is designed to test for. So if the equipment is designed to test for RF frequencies, that's all you can say, that it's coming up positive. For whatever reason, you're getting a positive RF reading in this general area. To make the jump from the RF reading to an implant is like jumping over the Grand Canyon. You can't do that. Okay? You just can't. So regardless whether it's an RFID chip, a semiconductor, nanotech, you just can't make that leap because the equipment isn't designed to do that. It's designed to detect RF signals. Now, the nonlinear junction scan is designed to test for, i.e., corrosive material or electronics, okay? Whether they're on or off by sending microwaves to it, okay, which is a little bit different concept. Again, you can't jump to, you have an implant. You can't jump to an implant. If anything, you still need medical imagery that validates that there could be a possible, and even here, foreign body. Okay? You can't say, I have an implant. You cannot say you have an implant until that foreign body has been surgically removed and identified. That is when you're going to win the game. And that is why these cases that are moving through are being successful. You have the evidence. You're not making subjective assumptions. You're not skipping the process on how you get from A to Z for the conclusion of what's really happening. So it's very important people start using this methodology and this verbiage in communicating when they're engaging with the medical community, law enforcement, whoever it may be, because then you are of sound mind, you're using your critical thinking factors, you're not making assumptions in their eyes, even though we know what's going on because we're going through this. But I can't emphasize enough, it's important that people start to adapt those behaviors.
Are we able to have them removed?
Yes, once you've gone through that process, you can. Because there's no surgeon in the world that's going to say no.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Liliana. Thank you. Liliana, be in touch. And next caller, please.
Hello, Gaji.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I have a question. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Jesse, can you tell me how many RF frequencies you've been detected on one individual at a specific time? Not the timing, but what is the most that someone's you detected on?
Oh, gosh. On average, probably 8.
8? Okay. In my particular case, I have some that are intermittent. Do you understand what that means?
Yeah, it means it's passive.
Okay. I have 21 implants in me, and I was in the military, and I'm retired. I shouldn't say implants, excuse me. I have RF frequencies in me of 21, and some of the areas are intermittent. There's 5 of them that are intermittent, so that means that they were in me a long time and they just worn out, or what?
No, you can't jump to that conclusion. We can't really. The best sense there is that it's passive tech. Passive meaning that it's not on 24/7, 365 days a year. It has to be activated by receiving a signal, and that's what it means by passive. Active means that it's on all the time. Passive, it means it has to be activated with a frequency.
Okay. One other question I have for you. What steps or preventive measures can I take, or anybody can take, to help with the receiving the signal from into the body, like from the area, from the air, the towers, wherever they're coming from? Is there any measures we can do that could interrupt some of the signals? I'm not saying take them away. I'm saying just to interrupt them.
So probably the only way that I can think. Have you ever seen the movie The Boy in the Bubble? Anyone
Yes.
familiar with that movie? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I've watched it.
Yeah. So really, and it's a shame that we've come to this point, but there are a lot of materials that are being developed right now that do block out huge frequency spectrums, and I'm talking down from the hertz up to 40 gigahertz. And these materials are amazing. And they're interwoven in their cloth. They're made of silvers and coppers and other exotic metals that are designed to block out frequency specifically. And this is what we're utilizing to build this portable Faraday cage. In fact, they make them as canopies that you can put over your bed, and just as long as you have a grounding source. And usually what I recommend is just taking a power strip that has a grounding section, and you can put a little attachment so that you can ground it. That's one mechanism. They make paints now that'll block out huge frequency spectrums from the not 0 kilohertz, around 9 kilohertz up to 40 gigahertz also. So that's another modality.
Okay. Thank you so much, and be safe and be blessed as you are. And we continue to put this program to get educated on it. And I appreciate your time and hospitality. Thank you, Gaji.
Thank you. Thank you, big guy. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Jesse. Jesse, do you still have more time? People are still jumping on the queue. Okay, so
it's rare that I've engaged with the TI community in some time, so I want to at least give that back.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. We have a lot of people that are on here tonight. I just want to thank everybody. Take the time because I know some of you may have to go. Thank you for joining the J.A.M. Please check the YouTube, GoGi's at the Dinner Jam, and the website, GoGi'sJam.com. We are planning to meet up at the inauguration. We're starting a ceasefire campaign. Ceasefire involves the illegal warrants using FISA 702. Ceasefire, non-consensual experimentation on humans on U.S. soil. Ceasefire in reference to the weaponization of the government against American citizens. And so you get the message. It's ceasefire. And so we want to put that message out there in the site of the Trump administration as they take office, and for anyone who's at the inauguration. So we're giving out flyers, banners, raising our voice. I hope you'll come and join us at the inauguration, and also on February 6th, the Capitals, Boots Across America, the National Watch Listed Day, those who are watch listed, in handling codes 3 and 4. We want to stand up, raise our voice. We want to get off the list, out of the program. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. One way is to continue to raise our voice, and because they have put the right people on the list, I don't say the wrong people, the right people on the list, including Tulsi Gabbard, including the J6ers and so forth, we will get the attention we need. They're going to bring attention to this program, expose it, and tear it down. In the meantime, another way to skin the cat, get the evidence we need, go to court, get the things removed, and let's get busy. So that's why Jesse is here. And many of us have been skinned by John Kingston, and we're also getting this skin, as you heard Jesse Beltran say tonight. Having both creates a good network to produce and to move to the next level. And he's able to coach us to improve our medical or improve our condition. And he can coach us through those steps, and he has the network that will support it. So I hope that you'll join us in that movement. If you need to email me, the Justice Action Meeting at .me, please do so. All right, so we're going to move this line as quickly as possible. Next caller, please.
Hey, Gaji, thank you for taking my call. I know the hour is late, so I'm going to try to move through quickly. I have a couple of questions. Hey, first I want to say to Jesse, thank you so much for being such an humble servant to our community. I do have two questions for you, but I first want to go back to the lady that called that said she was in her 70s. I have a weakness for elderly and children, so I want to let her know that she does have state contacts, hopefully close to her area, that she can contact for support, and just want to point her in the direction of support. So in addition to this great call, there are other great calls that you can find on tievents.org where you can get support and learn about shielding techniques and just be informed to help you understand your targeting. So I hope that she's still on the line. To Jesse, I have two questions. Is there a fee if you do appear in court for us? Do you charge a fee for that? And the second question is, are you familiar with the patent list that explains what each frequency or each implant does to us? There is a patent list that's been discovered online, and those are my two questions.
I have not seen that list. I only know from my research over the last 15 years or so, probably since 2004, and my interviews with top professionals in the world like Barry Trower. Barry Trower actually had, back in 2011, had disclosed an entire list of these frequencies and what they would do, what part of the body they would affect, and so forth. But with regard to that patent list, the answer is no, I haven't seen it, but I would love to. I'd be curious to look at it.
If someone's in the chat that has picked up this list from one of the conference calls, could you please drop it in the chat for Jesse, please? I'm not in the chat, Jesse. Otherwise, I'd be happy to do it for you.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. And if not, we'll email it. I'll email it to you.
Thank
Jesse,
you
I'm
so
sure
much.
I have
In regards to the second question about the court, if you appear in court, is there an additional fee?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm not wealthy enough that I can fly to each court case and do that. So there is a fee, but usually your representing attorney or legal counsel will have what that standard fee is.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for your support. All right, next caller, please. All right, thank you. Next caller, please.
Hi, area code 303. You're next. Denver, Colorado. Can you hear us? Okay.
Hello.
I'm here. Hi.
Oh,
It's Onenye.
all right. Hi, Onenye. That pause, I tell you. Go ahead, my dear.
Sorry about that. Thank you, GoGi, and thank you to the guest, Jesse. I wanted to just get some, just maybe some specifics about the shielding that you were talking about earlier. Do you have any maybe websites or sellers that you recommend?
You know, there's so many out there. If you just Google shielding material, you'll see a lot of companies. And what I recommend is using something that has silver and copper weave through it. If you do that, those are probably the ones that have the biggest protection as far as frequency spectrums that they block out. But very pricey. You can probably find something about 6 square meters for about $900 each, and so you'll have to then get the threading that's made of the same material so that you can stitch these things together in order to build your canopies. If you get a pre-made canopy, you're probably going to be looking somewhere between $2,500 to $4,500, probably the most affordable. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Onenye. Thank you for your support. Next caller, please.
Hello, Jesse.
Yes.
Hi. So if I have all my scans and I get all my reports, and you can clearly see in the scans that I have multiple implants, but the people that did the scanning were the people that implanted me, and you can see that they made the scans lighter in order to cover up the implants. Is there an opportunity to get rescanned by an independent person?
We can always get an RF scan by an independent person. But when it comes to these images, again, you're going to need a supporting documentation that talks about what's in the image. If you have it in question, you can always have a secondary read by someone who's trusted. Okay. But my question is, and I run across this all the time, because people are so desperately looking for answers, and it's understandable. You want to know, you want to stop what's happening. You want to get a solution, but truly, the secondary reads, and I've even had scans read a third time. And when I'm talking about MRIs, X-rays, these types of studies, they're coming up with the same results, and I trust these people who are reading them. Some of them I was a firefighter paramedic with, and they were colleagues with me, and they've supported me and helped me get to where we are today. So it's not to say that there's not tech in there. Just remember that now we're dealing with sizes that are approaching nano and are in the nano size, which is 1/1,000,000th of a millimeter. You're not going to get an image that is going to pick that up. You're going to have to use tech. And so that's why it's important that those who have been involved with this phenomenon the longest, you are the best hope to save everyone.
Can I just say that the people that implanted me are the people that did the CT scans, and you can see that they actually changed them. and also, but you also can see clearly the old tech that's inside of me. And I had nonlinear junction scan RF frequency by J.K. and confirmed. But I'm glad that you are saying that you can have the scans reread if needed to, and we would have access to that if we took up your service.
Correct. But again, and I caution everyone, because it puts sometimes the answers that we come up with are not what someone wants to hear. But we'll just deal with that when we cross that path.
My scans are clear. You can see the implants very clearly.
Then it should be easy for a third party to see that and document that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next caller, please.
I had secondary frequencies given off in some of the implants that I had, and I was able to break them using a magnet. I put the magnet right next to them, and I think it took about a half an hour, and they stopped giving off the secondary frequency.
I guess I'm trying to understand by what you mean by secondary frequency. But it's probably irrelevant in this case. But the fact is, if you've got them to be deactivated with a magnet is fascinating. I haven't heard of anyone doing that.
4 of them.
Yeah. And
beautiful.
I had one in my face, in my upper lip. I had one in my butt cheek. Probably happened a couple times, 2 times. And so I sat on the magnet. The thing to do is get it right next to it, so that the power that they put into it to make you uncomfortable with the secondary frequency is going to short it out.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of magnet, sir? What kind of magnet did you put?
A large neodymium magnet.
I've seen some experiments with those. Haven't had too much success. I've even seen people use a taser on them. Don't advise it.
Well, I didn't have to do that.
But I mean, I've seen a lot over the last 20 years.
This was very uncomfortable. Like I said, I had one in my face, my upper lip, and the secondary frequency that it gave off was strong, and it hurt.
Yeah. Well, I could say good for you if you've been able to stop it.
Yeah. So there's no more secondary frequency.
Good for you. Thank you so much, sir. I'm gonna move a little faster, but thank you so much.
I had to come back to say that.
But
it's important.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. Next caller, please. We should be next caller, please.
Hello, area code 218. Are you there?
Sorry, it was on mute.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jessica from Minnesota, and I was excited to see Jesse is also a hypnotist. And I was going to ask about that because I'm hypnotized. I'm hypnotized all the time. I have V2K. They come in with like a chant, and I also am seeing John Kingston coming up here January. And then I just got x-rays where I believe are these small little electromagnetic chips. And I'm wondering, are those what is used to, like, can they be like rub to like hypnotize you. I'm not sure how that whole process goes, but I'm just like, how do they do that to me all the time? Put me in a hypnotic state, and then they come in and say, this is what we don't want to do, this is what we're supposed to do. And I mean, they have a chant, they say. I mean, I hate talking about it because it makes me sound crazy, but do you kind of have any answers for that?
Well, I don't think it's the chips that are hypnotizing you.
Okay.
There's a lot of assumptions being done here. The first thing, up to 30% of the population is highly suggestible. Now, I'm not saying it means you're gullible or anything like that. It's just how you intake information and how you process it. And depending on your upbringing as a child, that'll dictate your suggestibility. Now, if you're highly suggestible, just by mere fact of you could be hypnotized by watching TV, looking at YouTube, hearing a conversation that someone else is talking about that you're not even involved with. Subconsciously, that can be embedded into you, and then you'll act upon it, depending on your suggestibility. So that would be the first thing that would have to be rolled out. Are you highly suggestible, or are you even somnambulist? Somnambulist is 100% suggestible. So that would be the first. That would be the first line of defense for you, is moving the gauge of suggestibility to what normal state, and then reassessing your experiences at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I am highly suggestible, but I think that also being that, they use that to, like, tell me the story to get me in that trance state and, like, literally put me to sleep to get to me, in a sense, if that makes sense, because that's how they get in. And I believe there's literally, like, some kind of nano computer that is, like, somehow sending signals to these electromagnetic chips, because I get buzzed, I get shocked, and it's painful. And that's why I said I just got, like, x-rays from my chiropractor, and I've enlarged them, and I want somebody to read them, but I've had this go on, and it's been very severe with my attacks, and they've been increasing, which has been hard because, you go talk to any professional, they're going to say you're crazy. But I know what I'm dealing with. I mean, I absolutely 100% know, but, and I've been documenting, I've been researching, but I find mine to, I've heard of electromagnetic chips.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to move it a little faster. We have another person waiting, and we want to end. Do you have a question, or you just wanted to?
No, I guess I was just talking. No, I was just more interested in the hypnotist. Right. How the hip, I was just going to see, I like that he said highly suggestible, but I was just going to see if he had any insight on how it's being done, like with the V2K, with the program, because, like, I don't know a lot of people that are being hypnotized, and I am. So,
all right. So that's your question. All right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next caller, please.
What do you think? What do you think about the Amy Holmes thermal scans?
That's not my specialty. That's something that's probably best asked of John King. Because I haven't been able to see any correlation between thermal scans and the extraction of anything.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. All right. Next caller, please. All right, guys, we cleared the line. Thank you, Jesse Beltran. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your indulgence, your expertise, and all the information you shared tonight. Everyone, I'm sure, enjoyed the whole session, and particularly your interview and your information. And I look forward to anyone who wants to scan. Again, in the Northeast, we'll be holding it in January next month, about towards the end of the month, between the 20th and the 31st. I had to remember how many days January had. And Jesse, would you like to say anything as we say goodnight?
No, just everyone, stay strong. Please learn what to say versus not what to say when you engage in traditional medicine. And like I say, I'm not saying lie. You don't want to lie. You just want to talk about your symptoms. Don't talk about your theories. It's important that you gather objective data before you draw any conclusions. And ultimately, if this phenomenon includes you being implanted, that ultimately once you get whatever that foreign body is extracted surgically and identified, at that point you've won the game. But until then, we've got to continue to engage the general population. And remember, they don't understand what you're going through. They don't understand the lingo. They don't understand the concept. So you have to spoon feed them with things that are tangible that they can accept. And if you do that, you're going to be much more successful in engaging and moving our mission forward. And I think ultimately everyone has the same mission, and that's just to stop the torture. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Regardless, God, whoever that may be, your higher power, is the ultimate programmer. Remember, we've all been designed, and regardless of what's thrown that way, our way, we will win in the end, and I'm fully confident of that.
Same here. Also, Jesse, now where can we find? You said you're going to do a interview, I think twice a month in Chicago.
Yeah, Awake Nation. The Awake Nation. I do. I'm on regularly there in Chicago, and if you go to theawakenation.com, a lot of great information. David Zublik and Penny Shepard are the hosts, and they're phenomenal people. Penny herself talks about having this experience, and so we have someone who can identify with the community and understand what you're going through. So it's important, but they're just have a great show.
And you also wanted us to share your latest documentary. Where can we? I'm going to have that posted on GoGi's J.A.M.com, and Tranquility promised to have it on TIEvents.org.
I'll put it in there again, but that's it. Now it's important here on this one. Remember, there's someone out there that is trying to debunk, say that the Don DeVore case and that IBM document is fake. They're claiming that it was created in 1990, which is BS. So it's important that every one of you put something in the comments about it being real. And she has had surgical implants removed from her. And that's it's very important that everyone understands there, because we want to eliminate any shadow of a doubt. We would respond if we could, but we haven't been on X for 6 months because we would just be blasting all of those comments. The problem is we're up to almost 700,000 views in the general population, but we can't counter what she's saying. So if enough people start countering it in the feed, we'll be better off, and we'll see more traction with that. But I also encourage you to share it with someone who's not a target.
Share it with your family, with like you said, the general population, because they still do not believe that this is happening, or they don't understand it, but they will very soon. Okay, it's going to happen more and more and more in the weeks to come. So, everybody, I just want to thank you all for being here, and wish you all a good night. We're going to open up to say good night again. I hope to see you at the inauguration on January 20th, 2025. Shortly after, hang around in the area, because we'll see Jesse Beltran. Okay, so we have a nice plan coming up for the 2025 year, and we're expecting great things. So please be a part of it. All right, let's open up to say goodnight. Thank you for being here, everybody. God bless you all.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you, buddy.
God bless. Thank you guys for being here.
God bless.
Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. You all be safe. God bless you all. Mm-hmm.
God bless you.
God bless you. Stay safe, guys.
Thank you.
My pleasure.